Stay informed, stay engaged.
Will these people, everybody agree?
Just listen to me.
Let's give him a chance to clear the air.
Catch News Check every Tuesday and Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Only on KBC Channel 1.
Dr. Moses Wetangula is making his way into the chamber. He will be presiding over this afternoon sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast brought to you by PBU in partnership with KBC. My name is Kamche Menza. Good afternoon.
Mheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tunakuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao hajasawa wamesikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Sergeant, ring the quorum bell.
Well, the prayer has been said and the chair taken. However, as indicated, is that the House has not quorated yet for it to be able to commence its business. This is regards to the House Standing Order number 34, paragraph 1, that provides for the right quorum at the commencement of the House. At least 50 members should be seated inside the chamber for the House to be deemed to have quorated. If that is not present, then that quorum bell will be on for the members who may be within the precincts of Parliament but yet to get to the chambers to at least hasten their steps and join their colleagues inside the chambers to allow the House raise that much needed quorum for the business to commence. However, as we can see, members have just walked in a large number, and we believe that as they join the rest, then the quorum will be achieved in no time for the House to commence. That is the Sergeant at Arms raising a white paper, as is the tradition, just to indicate to the clerk and the speaker that the quorum has been attained for the House to commence its business. So allow me to hand you over to this live proceedings. Good afternoon.
Honorable members, we now have quorum, I believe, to transact business. Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, you recall last week we honored our hero novelist Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and I promised to give you time to eulogize today. So we will, after order number 11, because these are just putting questions, allow the majority leader to lead the House in the eulogy. It will be allocated 30 minutes. So immediately after order number 11, majority leader and all members who want to eulogize will give you 30 minutes to do so. Honorable members, allow me to recognize in the Speaker's row members from the Parliament of Ghana. I wish to introduce to you a delegation comprising members of Ad Hoc Committee on Pension Scheme for Members of Parliament and the Parliamentary Select Committee on Employment, Labor Relations and Pensions from the Parliament of Ghana, seated in the Speaker's row. They are 1, Honorable Joseph Appiah Boateng, Chairman, Parliamentary Select Committee, Head of Delegation. Honorable Mavis Nkasa Boadu, Member, Select Committee. Honorable Haruna Mohammed, Member of the Committee. Dr. Abdul Kabir Mahama, Member of the Committee. Honorable Yao Frimpong Ado, Member of the Committee. They are accompanied by an assistant clerk to the committee and 2 technical officers from the National Pensions Regulatory Authority of Ghana. Honorable members, the delegation is in the country on a benchmarking visit to gain insights in the nature and operations of the pension fund of Parliament, as well as the regulatory framework governing parliamentary pensions. Honorable members, on my behalf and that of the National Assembly, I welcome them to Parliament and wish them fruitful engagements during their stay. Thank you, and as they say in Ghana, Agwaba. Next.
Order number 3, messages.
Honorable members at the bar, take the nearest seats. Tongoyo, where is your nearest seat? Honorable members, I have a message from the Senate on the passage of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025. Honorable members, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 41-4 relating to messages from the Senate, I wish to report to the House that I received a message from the Senate dated 29th May 2025 regarding the passage of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025. The message conveys that on Wednesday, 28th May 2025, the Senate considered and passed the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025, order with amendments. The Senate has now referred the bill back to the National Assembly for reconsideration in accordance with the provisions of 12(1)(b) of the Constitution. Honourable members, you will recall that on Wednesday, 9th April 2025, this House considered and passed the said bill without amendments, following which I referred the bill to the Senate for consideration in accordance with the provisions of Article 110(4) of the Constitution. In this regard, the House is required to consider the Senate amendments to the bill. Honourable members, you will agree with me that the passage of the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill 2025 is central to unlocking the consideration of other business related to the budget for the year 25-26, particularly the consideration of the Appropriation Bill 2025 and the Counter Allocation of Revenue Bill 2025. In this regard, and so as to facilitate the expedited consideration of the Senate amendments to the said bill by this House, I directed the clerk to schedule the bill paper for this sitting. Indeed, as you may have noticed in today's order paper, the motion for consideration of Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025, and the Committee of the Whole House on the Senate amendments have been listed as order numbers 12 and 13, respectively. Additionally, I instructed the clerk to publish the Senate amendments to the bill in the order paper. Honourable members, in view of the foregoing, I urge the House to dispense with the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill 2025 in today's sitting. I also hasten to restate that the conclusion of the will pave the way for the consideration of the Counter Allocation of Revenue Bill 2025 with the prescribed timelines so as to facilitate timely disbursement of the requisite funds to our county governments. It will also enable finalization of the allocation of revenues raised nationally for the national government through the Appropriation Bill 2025, following consideration of the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the annual estimates for the year 2025-26 financial year. The House is accordingly guided. I thank you. Next.
Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. A. Annual Report of the Kenya Law Reform Commission for the financial year 2023-2024. Annual Report of Activities and Financial Statements of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission for the financial year 2023-2024. First half report of the County Government Budget Implementation Review for the financial year 2024-2025. D. Annual Report of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights for the financial year 2023-2024. E. Annual Report and Financial Statements of Privatization Commission for the year ended 30th June 2024. F. Quarterly Report of Economic and Budgetary Review of the National Treasury and Economic Planning third quarter of the financial year 2024-2025. G. The 2025 Economic Survey Report from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. H. Reports of the Auditor General Financial Statements for the years ended 30th June 2023 and 30th June 2024 and certificates therein in respect of the following: Aldai Technical Training Institute, Kipsoen Technical and Vocational College, Masai Technical Training Institute, Masinga Technical and Vocational College. 5. Mochongoi Technical and Vocational College. 6. Molo Technical and Vocational College. 7. Ngong Technical and Vocational College. 8. Nu Technical and Vocational College. 9. Tarbaj Technical and Vocational College. And lastly, 10. Wajir East Technical and Vocational College. I thank you, Honourable Speaker, and I beg to lay.
Thank you. Chairman, Budget and Appropriations Committee. That will be stayed. The report has not been presented to the Speaker for approval yet. Chairman, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. Morugara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 3rd June 2025. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the report on approval hearings of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Murugara.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon as the chairperson and Ms. Anne Jerry Nderito, Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, Ms. Karen Sorobet, Mary Karen Sorobet, Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan, Mr. Francis Ofiambo Aduol, and Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah as members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Murugara. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's Gallery, Chebonei Girls High School from Bomet Central, Bomet. In the public gallery, Oshol Academy from Nyali, Mombasa, Kigumo Bendera from Kigumo, Muranga, Sirwa Aulo Junior School from Kilgoris, Narok, Thua Secondary School from Kitui East, Kitui County. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome all the students, their teachers, and those accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Honorable members, I will rearrange the order on the order paper as follows. Having done notices of motion, we'll go to orders number 8, 9, 10, and 11 to put questions. Thereafter, we'll spend 30 minutes on the eulogy and paying respect to the late Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Thereafter, we'll come back to questions and statements. There are quite a number of statements. Then at order number 12, if the House is not in agreement with the Senate on the amendments on the division of revenue, then order number 13 will not be considered, will be required to immediately constitute committees for mediation. So clerk, call out order number 8 onwards.
Order number 8, motion, report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the President's reservations to the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023, question to be put.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 8, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the President's reservations, the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023. As members of that opinion, will those of the contrary opinion say nay?
To the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating of Terrorism Financing Laws Amendment Bill National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2025. Question to be put.
Order, Mama Mombasa, take your seat. Stop swagging. Honorable members, I didn't know Honorable Zamzam can. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the President's President's reservation to the Anti-Money Laundering and Combating of Terrorism Financing Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2025. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? For the nays to have it, you must have 233 members. Obviously, the voices I've heard are hardly 15, so the ayes have it.
Order number 10, motion, third report on consideration of the audited accounts of specified corporations. Question to be put.
Order, Honorable Member for Naivasha, take the nearest seat. Keep your note the same. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10. Which is that this House adopts the third report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services Administration and Agriculture on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the following state corporations laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 30th July 2024. Kenyatta National Hospital, financial year 2018-2019 and 2019-2020. Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, financial year 2017-2018, 2018-2019. Kenya Veterinary Board, financial year 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021. National Authority Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, financial year 2017-2018, 2018-2019, 2019-2020, and 2020-2021, and the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, financial year 2000-2001, 2001-2002, 2002-2003, 2003-2004, 2004-2005, 2005-2006, 2006-2007, 2007-2008, 2008-2009, 2009-2010, 2010-2011, 2011-2012, and 2012-2013. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 11, motion, consideration of sessional paper number 7 of 2024 on the National Sanitation Management Policy. Question to be put.
Members on their feet, take the nearest seats. Honorable members, I'll now put the question at order number 11, which is that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on its consideration of sessional paper number 7 of 2024 on the National Sanitation Management Policy laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 17th April 2025, and approved sessional paper number 7 of 2024 on the National Sanitation Management Policy, subject to the revisions as contained in the schedule to the report. As Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I think we can also dispose of order number 12. Clerk.
Order number 12, motion, consideration of Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025.
Is the chairman budget in the House? Leader of majority will. Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025 be now considered. Honorable Speaker, just brief to members that this Division of Revenue Bill, as approved by the House, had about 405 billion shillings. But the other House has since amended that and proposed that we increase that to about 465 billion. That is 60 billion shillings above what is agreed. And bearing in mind the fiscal space that we have, Honorable Speaker, it may not be practical to increase by 60 billion shillings. I hear the member for Bumula saying we should be reducing, not increasing. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, having considered that, we thought it's only fair that we reject these amendments by the Senate to allow us to go into early mediation, and therefore beg to move the House to reject in totality this proposal by the Senate. And I therefore beg to move and request the Honorable Wamboka to second.
Honorable Speaker, we want to reject in total.
Start by saying I beg to second.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to second. Bearing in mind the space the country is operating in, the fiscal space, it is only abnormal for anyone to think we should be increasing these monies upwards. So in that, on this thing, Honorable Speaker, I beg to, as I second Honorable Ichungwa. We reject it and put the question, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025 be now considered. I put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 12, which is that the Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2025 be now considered. As members of that opinion say aye. As members of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Honorable members, that vote invalidates the presence of order number 13 on the order paper. So order number 13 is now struck out from the order paper. Honorable members, now it's time I'll give the House 30 minutes or so to pay tribute to one of the greatest sons of this country in the literary world, the late Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, whose books yours truly here has read each and every one of them. And I hope each one of you has done the same. Except those written in Kikuyu language. I've read all those written in English. I now invite the majority leader to lead the House, and I suggest members that we give the majority leader 5 minutes and the rest who will speak 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to pay tribute, as you say, to one of the greatest sons of our nation, and also a great son of my county, Kiambu, and notably also an old boy of the school. And when I speak about the school, it's a school that he attended in the year 1955 to about 1959 before he joined Makerere University. And Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Tiende Amolo, also understands the school I'm speaking about is not Miranda High School. It is the Alliance High School. Honorable Speaker, I was saying before he went to Makerere University, where he started his writing career and did exemplary well, writing his first 2 novels in English. The first novel, Honorable Speaker, being The Weep Not Child, that he published in the year 1964. Honorable Speaker, also notable, these are around the time that we are becoming a republic. And he had graduated from university in 1963 when this country was gaining independence. And also, Honorable Speaker, it's notable to note that the Honorable Ngugi wa Thiong'o says in his writings and recalls how his village in Limuru in Kamiredo, where he was born, was razed down by the colonial masters. And probably this is what provoked him when he went to Alliance High School. And after his first semester or his first term in school, he went back home and found the entire village razed down to the ground. And I was saying probably this is what provoked him to even later in life, around 1967 to 1970, to drop the name James Ngugi and adopt his names as we know them today as Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Honorable Speaker, as we pay tribute to this great man, a writer who has not only taught literature and English language in many universities here in Africa, beginning with his alma mater, Makerere University, and also came back home to teach at the University of Nairobi before he was imprisoned. He's also taught great universities, Ivy League universities like Yale University, Honorable Speaker, in the US, where he has taught. Northwestern University also, he has been a guest lecturer there. And he has therefore contributed immensely, not just to the growth of literature, but also to the growth of African languages, Honorable Speaker. But this is not to say, Honorable Speaker, and I heard you say you have read all his novels, except those like Gahi Kadeda, I Will Marry When I Want, that he wrote in Kikuyu, or Shaitani Modhara Vaine, which says it's Devil on the Cross. But I think the Devil on the Cross was later translated into English. And therefore, you may have had the opportunity to read these novels, Honorable Speaker. But I'm saying this because Ngugi wa Thiong'o dropped his English name, adopted his Kikuyu names, dropped the name James for Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and also began to write in the Gikuyu language. Not because he was a tribalist, Honorable Speaker, because Ngugi wa Thiong'o was such a nationalist that when he was imprisoned here for a year, sent into detention by the past regimes, Honorable Speaker, in the 70s, he was imprisoned with many other political prisoners who were not necessarily of the Kikuyu descent. And he lived on to fight for justice, equality in the country of Kenya, irrespective of where you came from, Honorable Speaker. And the fact that he has not only taught students from across the world, from different backgrounds, Honorable Speaker, but even his associations, Honorable Speaker, in the literary world, speaks volumes of the man that Ngugi wa Thiong'o was. That he was never at any point in time in his life. He valued his ancestry, he valued his background as a Kikuyu from Limuru, but he never allowed that to be anything to use to lord over others, Honorable Speaker, or even to believe that there was one community that was greater than the other, Honorable Speaker. And he used the African languages, Honorable Speaker, and he has motivated and encouraged very many other African writers to write in their mother tongue, Honorable Speaker. And this is something that we pay great tribute to for him, not just his contributions in the academia, Honorable Speaker, but also as a political thinker and shaping the thinking of many African children, African students, and many other indigenous communities around the world as he taught in many universities around the world, Honorable Speaker. And therefore pay tribute to this great son of Kenya, an old boy of my school, the Alliance High School, and also a great son of the county of Kiambu and my neighboring constituency, Limuru, Honorable Speaker. And how I wish, Honorable Speaker, that Kamiredo, because the Member of Parliament for Limuru is here, they would consider the cultural theater that was at Kamiredo being further developed into a cultural center for Kiambu County, for our country.
Time up. Otienda Molo. Honorable members, the screen is full. I found it full, so it can't have been for this. So those who will speak, I'll just request a show of hands. When every time one member finishes, then you do so. Otienda Amolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to eulogize the late Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Ngugi wa Thiong'o demonstrates defiance, first in terms of name. He had the courage to drop what was called his Christian name. Secondly, the idea of writing in vernacular, which at the time many people frowned upon. Mr. Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o shaped the literary thinking of virtually every other person living right now, including those who are older than him, but definitely those who are younger than him. And many of us have become what we are because we started reading Ngugi wa Thiong'o from primary school. Ngugi, unfortunately, remains one of those whose intellect may not have been shared in his later life because of political intolerance. And there's a long list of his contemporaries who had to flee the country at the time, including the late Professor Ali Mazrui, including those who are living even now, like Professor Shadrach Guto in South Africa, and many others. I think in his life is a lesson that we must have some level of political tolerance, even of those with whom we do not agree. Because a lot of times, we then have them benefit others. These are giants who ended up benefiting in other countries. Mr. Speaker, even though Ngugi wa Thiong'o may not have won the Nobel Peace Prize, Ngugi wa Thiong'o remains a towering giant in East Africa, in Africa, and in the world, like no other. Mr. Speaker, I think that what we should do is to name something serious in this country in honor of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, not just to name everything after politicians. This is somebody who deserves to be remembered.
Omboko Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also take this time to eulogize Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who was a great writer who influenced many of the readers of the time and the children. And as young people would compete on how many books of Ngugi and other writers you would have read during that particular time. But I think what I find quite strong about Ngugi was that he had to compete with very good writers from West Africa. At that particular time of the 80s and 70s, the West African writers were doing very well, the likes of Chinua Achebe, the likes of Lechi Amadi with The Concubine, and Aldo and others. But Ngugi came out very strongly from the East African region to also compete very competitively with the West African writers, and he was a celebrity for the East African people. And therefore, I think this was one of the greatest. But one other thing I find very strong about him was the fact that he wrote about class struggles at a time when nobody wanted to tolerate the politics of class struggle, which remains with us today. And partly that's why he was imprisoned and then fled the country to go out.
That is in the Petals of Blood.
Petals of Blood. Thank you. You are a master. Thank you. In the Petals of Blood, he tries to bring out that very confidently. And I think we should have more tolerance in our times to literal word and those who are writing. So when I see a place like the Shackles of Blood get trouble, I just blame those who are invading the space of academics and are not teachers. If we allow teachers to do these things without much of the competition and blocking, would really improve our literal world. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Rachel Nyamai.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to eulogize our son, the son of the world, a linguist, a creative, and a gift to this country. Honorable Speaker, I would like to go direct to the family that the Honorable Ngugi wa Thiong'o has left for us. I could not move my eyes from the screen, Honorable Speaker, watching the children of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He has left us children who are grounded, children that he must have taught and given the right way to follow. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a lesson that we need to pick as a house, that we need to know that no matter how busy we are, no matter how many parts of the world we go to, at the end of the day, it's family. Honorable Speaker, about patriotism, Honorable Speaker, he traveled to so many parts of the world and he was not happy with the situation at home at times. But he remained patriotic to our country, making sure that he wrote books that showed love for this country. Honorable Speaker, I would like to also point out that we have so much to learn from him. And I would like to thank you very much for your communication or the statement you made on that day, that we did not see his face in all our dailies, Honorable Speaker. And we need to urge our media houses to be more patriotic and to love Kenyans like the late Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Honorable Speaker, I would like also to ask the House that the children that Ngugi wa Thiong'o has left for us has shown us that we need to rethink, Mr. Speaker, about family planning, Honorable Speaker. We needed human power together with the land we have. And this is a debate that I think we must have one day to think of whether we should have been encouraged by our colonialists to have only 2 children.
Thank you, Morogara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also join the rest of the House and Kenyans in eulogizing one great man of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I commend you that on the day after he passed on, you actually took time to inform the media that instead of writing headlines of non-issues, we should have had a headline with the late Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o as the one to be remembered. Actually, the following day it happened, and that was extremely good because Kenyans were able to recollect the lives and times of the late Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. It's always important to remember when he left the school, the Alliance High School, went to Makerere University for his studies that time, where he met the late Mwai Kibaki, who was supposed to be his lecturer. But instead, Kibaki advised him to do literature or Bachelor of Arts in English, as it was called that time, because he was not very good in economics, but he was extremely good in literature, in writing the written word, and he had the power of the gab. What we encourage our learners today, and especially those who are in school, it's not just to read the works of the late Ngugi wa Thiong'o, but to take a cue from him. Take time to learn writing skills so that after Ngugi wa Thiong'o, we are able to produce many more Ngugi wa Thiong'os who will tower Africa in the likes of Chinua Achebe and the rest in writing. Therefore, today, we eulogize a great man of the Republic of Kenya, the late Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and may his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you very much.
Mele Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on my behalf and on behalf of the people of Suba North, we bring our message of condolences to the family of Ngugi wa Thiong'o and even to Kenya as a whole, because this is a loss to Kenya as a country. Mr. Speaker, when I was a young girl, I used to work at my uncle's bookshop. And even though I was very young, I would still struggle to read the difficult English. So just like you, I think I probably read all of them, even though I didn't understand many of them. But Mr. Speaker, one of the things that stood out for me is that I want to comment about is the river between. Speaker, you look at the river between, you look at the influence of the British colonization through the eyes of Muthoni. Mr. Speaker, I want to specifically single out the way he dealt with the issue of feminism. Majority of the characters in that book are women that he exalts, and he shows them as fighting tyranny and exploitation. Mr. Speaker, he sees women as victims of African society and patriarchal system. And to liberate themselves, they endeavored to shatter the patriarchal obstacles and bring about a change. Mr. Speaker, I would want to say that he was way ahead of time. There are some of the issues that we are now talking about, and we are giving name to, for instance, intersectionality. But he already dealt with issues that converge and bring women down, like the intersectionality of gender, race, and even ethnicity. And so, with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Member for Limuru.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance to eulogize one of our own, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. As I stand, Honorable Speaker, I speak of a man who I knew for the longest time in my life. I witnessed him writing the books, some of them that people have mentioned, but I have also witnessed a journey for him when he was being persecuted. I was there delivering a book written by Steve Biko to him in detention. I was at the University of Nairobi when you were told to remove all his books after detention, and I saw him off the first time he led out of this country. But Honorable Speaker, this is one person who was very good for the rest of the world, but it looks like there was a plan to make sure that Ngugi will never have a peace in his own country. We know that he was denied to teach at the University of Nairobi. He was not allowed to go back to Kameredo to continue with his theater works. And above all, the system that didn't want him to be in Nairobi, didn't want him to be in Kenya, continued to persecute even the family to a point where Ngugi had to part a lot with the rest of the family. And as we now say goodbye to him, Honorable Speaker, my prayer is that the children of Ngugi will have peace, can come back to this country and contribute. And for all of us to make sure that Ngugi will not be forgotten for what he did to this country. May his soul.
Julia Sunguli.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to join everybody else in eulogizing Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. He was definitely a literary giant in the 70s. And that is why a UK newspaper said about him when he was about 33 years that he is accepted as one of Africa's outstanding contemporary writers. His best books, Mr. Speaker, were the books that he wrote under the name of James Ngugi. The book of The River Between, A Grain of Wheat, and Weep Not Child. That is actually why the 70s would remember Ngugi. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, something happened to Ngugi later on. When the world was embracing him, he seems to have retreated from the world. First, he retreated from Christianity. He changed his name, James. He returned his baptismal card and retreated away from Christianity. Then, Mr. Speaker, he retreated from the English language, the one that had made him a giant, and started writing in Kikuyu and having characters only within the Kikuyu language and Kikuyu culture. That actually is perhaps one of the reasons why the people who went to school after the 70s do not remember Ngugi as much as you and I do. Mr. Speaker, he withdrew, of course, when he was detained by Jomo Kenyatta, he must have suffered a lot. President Moi released him as soon as he became president, and he immigrated into the West. But this does not take away from the fact that, Mr. Speaker, at one time, Ngugi was a prolific writer, an artist, a novelist we shall always remember, and we shall place his name in the records of history. I thank you.
Yes, Honorable Bayer.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you and wish to eulogize Ngugi wa Thiong'o. You know, Honorable Speaker, I'm a student of literature and having taught literature at different levels. But Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the late Ngugi wa Thiong'o will remember him for the African Writers Series as a pioneer of that book, that level of books, where many Africans got an opportunity not just to write, but to write and publish, where the African Writers Series was published then as one of the biggest publishing houses, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, secondly, I remember Ngugi wa Thiong'o for his book, Decolonizing the Mind, one of the greatest works of literature that he ever wrote. It is a series of papers that he put together, Honorable Speaker, and it is in decolonizing the mind, Honorable Speaker, that we find Ngugi in his true sense. Honorable Speaker, one of his great books that people never talk about is The Devil on the Cross. The Devil on the Cross was one of Ngugi's greatest book. Actually, it is The Devil on the Cross that runs crosshairs with Daniel Arap Moi then when he was president, Honorable Speaker. Although Devil on the Cross is one of the greatest satires that Ngugi wa Thiong'o has ever written. A book that when you read, you get the revolutionary spirit in the writer. You get Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the person who fights for justice, who fights for land rights, a writer who stood up for the common mwananchi in this country. Ngugi wa Thiong'o will go down in history as one of the liberators of Africa, and that is why he could not agree with many presidents, and that's why he could not find space in Africa and chose to live in the United States. Honorable Speaker, we have lost a great man, a literary giant, somebody that was respected not just in the continent of Africa, but in Europe and above and beyond, Honorable Speaker. I thank you, and may God...
The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to pay tribute to a very distinguished son of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, as had been said before, Ngugi wa Thiong'o was initially called James Thiong'o, and he decided to change his name and drop the English name so that he pays tribute to being an African. But Honorable Speaker, one of the things that I remember about Ngugi wa Thiong'o was a famous quote from one of his books that he used to say, "To speak one's language is to celebrate one's identity." And he also said, "But to impose a language is a way to divide people, and it is a practice of tribalism of another kind." And therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Ngugi wa Thiong'o was one of the very famous Kenyans who really spoke against tribalism. But the other thing, Honorable Speaker, that we also celebrate Ngugi wa Thiong'o for is in terms of receiving honors, he is one of the most decorated writers in Africa. He received a total of 38 documented awards, one of them being the UNESCO Award for Weep Not Child. But also between the year 2006 and 2007, through one of his books, The Wizard of Oz, Ngugi wa Thiong'o received a total of 6 international awards. That was really something that was exceptional. And Honorable Speaker, the same way that we normally say that we are going to benchmark with other people on the good practices and the good things that we do in Kenya, Ngugi wa Thiong'o is one of those people that we also really know that the rest of the world would want to also emulate and be like him. And I just want to tell especially the people who are here and the people who are listening to us who love soccer, that a team like Arsenal should now emulate Ngugi wa Thiong'o in terms of doing
The Honorable Member for Seme, Honorable Nyika.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. May I take this opportunity also eulogize the passing on of our great writer Ngugi wa Thiong'o. His life, Madam Speaker, epitomizes the philosophical basis of life, the idealism that is associated with scholarship, the ability to actually strive and go against all odds to fight for ideal. Madam Speaker, this is what really distinguishes human beings from animals. Animals don't fight for ideals, but human beings fight for ideals, and sometimes they suffer like he suffered. They have to make sometimes very grave decisions at great risk to their lives because there is something they stand for, something they believe will make a difference in the life of the people and in the society. And this, he took his ability in writing to actually express this, agreed to fight with the system that be, to express what he wanted. So really, this really are the people who show to us the roles of universities. Universities are actually to be populated by people who seek ideals, not just the practicalities of life that take time for most of us. So losing a person like him is a great loss to this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
The Honourable Member for Marsabit, Honourable Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this very important debate that is going on as we eulogize the great man of this land, someone maybe many of us may not have met physically, but we have interacted with his books and known him. I remember when we were in high school, one of his books, The River Between, was like a must for all of us to read. We interacted with him through his writings. He has inspired many of us, and I want to send my condolences to him, to his family members, to relatives, and all his loved ones on my own behalf and on behalf of the great people of Marsabit, because I know many scholars from our place, many professionals have also gone through his books just as I did. Honorable Speaker, it is not just enough for us to eulogize a great man like him, somebody who has always represented us in a good way, somebody who is internationally celebrated. We should also see how best we can extend our blessings to his family and also see as a nation how he can be celebrated, maybe as the relatives prepare for his burial. Honorable Speaker, we have great men and women who have served this country in different capacity and represented us. And it will only be good for us to appreciate them and also recognize them as heroes. I believe he's one of our heroes and he should be recognized in that capacity even though he has left us. May his soul rest in peace and may God comfort his family. Thank you.
Honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence of the following school. Seated in the Speaker's Gallery is Moon Kopir Girls Secondary School from Kajiado East Constituency, Kajiado County. And also seated in the public gallery is St. Mary's Nyabururu School from Kitutu Chache South Constituency, Kisii County. And I'll ask Honorable Donya Doris to welcome the schools on our behalf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my school. I schooled there in class 2 and class 3, St. Mary's Nyabururu, but I can't say the year because you might suspect how old I am. Madam Speaker, as parents and of course members of parliament, we must have nice things to tell our girls. It's only that, oh, you girls, you should be smiling because I schooled in your school. Work hard, it has been the norm. Be humble, be kind, polite as your mama county. I have never even slaughtered a chicken, Madam Speaker. Education is what no one will ever take away from you. They can take your land, they take everything. Our children, I can also pass over the message to our girls, but something that no one will ever take away from you is your education. Value your education, respect your teachers, and you have to be good girls, not a bad girl like Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Very, 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 because she has confirmed that. She has told me, Donya, tell them they must be good girls like you, Honorable Donya, and not bad girls like Honorable Millie. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Tigania West, Honorable John Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to join my colleagues in eulogizing the family of late Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Honorable Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o emerged as a self-made man an African who has really found a space in this world. He satirized the political and the social intolerance that used to be there at that particular point in time. Honourable Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o is among the very few who have taken Africa where it should be, who have left a mark in terms of writing. And he challenges all of us, Honourable Speaker, to do something about what we do. There are very many things that we do, but we rarely document. And not just documenting, we also rarely challenge our young people to be able to think about their surroundings, think about the situations that they are in at one given time, and see how they can develop out of such situations. Honourable Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o died in exile after he ran away as a result of having been followed or being reprimanded by the then regimes that used to be there. This is one person we should celebrate as a country because he has put East Africa on the map. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Honourable Speaker, is not only a naturalist, he's a nationalist, he's an internationalist because his books are read across the world. The time we were in school, we used to read his books, and they used to influence us as young thinkers and young planners in this country. So, Honourable Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o will be remembered by many generations to come. And having interacted with them, it is high time we also got challenged by what he did. I pass my condolences to the family. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Elders, Honourable Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o was an academic giant, a philosopher, a thinker who has encouraged Pan-Africanism, who has fought colonialism, who has also tried to reduce the influence of new colonial ideas. And Mr. Speaker, we as Africans, and in particular in the academic world, there are people who are called academicians who are called social fools. But Ngugi wa Thiong'o was a true academician, a person who professed, who believed in the academic world, combined literature with culture. Madam Speaker, combined literature with the inherent and rich African culture, Madam Speaker, and truly will always be remembered as a person who has not only promoted the African literature, the African culture, Pan-Africanism, but also promoted the presence of the African people, the African continent, Madam Speaker, in the global world. Madam Speaker, he will always be remembered as a person truly who has believed in democracy, who has believed in the ideals of the Kenyan people, Madam Speaker. And I know for many who have truly believed in his literature, he has left a legacy. That legacy will be found in his many books. That legacy will be found in his many lectures. That legacy will be found in many interactions that he has had. And therefore, truly will remember you. And may God, wherever you are, rest your soul in eternal peace. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Tinderet.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to eulogize Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o, who was a great African literary writer. In his works, Madam Speaker, Ngugi wa Thiong'o showed how one can communicate language, culture, and traditionalism through the writings of African art of works. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, through his book, The Hermit, actually showed how African traditional way of life could meet with modernity. And this was a way where they were now able to explain the issues of colonialism, the issues of racism, and how the Europeans came over and colonized the Africans through his book, Decolonizing the Mind. One of the things that Ngugi wa Thiong'o actually taught, and I think this should be actually emphasized more even up to today, is that we need to have a lot of respect for our cultures, our traditions, and our language. Today, if you go to the United Nations, the media of communications is actually English, Arabic, French, and other languages. African languages across have not actually been recognized. And I want to say this, that it is important as Africa to know that our languages, our traditions, and even the ways in which we do our work should actually be ingrained even in our school setup. And thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I apologize and say we have lost a great literary giant. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Bondo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if we valued exactly what Professor was, or what he has been since his works, if we value that and we relate it to the kind of exports that we've done as a country, I want to believe that the value of Ngugi's works and what Ngugi has made in terms of people are basically incomparable. We've contributed immensely. He contributed immensely to the world. He contributed immensely to the rest of, when you look at the amount of works Ngugi was able to do in 1 decade, if you want to know how a great a person is, look at that versus what we are having now in a situation where virtually nobody is doing the kind of things that Ngugi was able to do in the 70s and in the beginning of the 80s. So, Madam Speaker, Ngugi has created people. Ngugi has made people to be what they are. And this is the time that we, as a country, we really need to recognize that, no, people are mortal, but what needs to remain is the works. So to us, Ngugi's works remain as eternal, and we're going to be indebted to Ngugi for a much more longer period of time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Dagoretti, Honorable KJ.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. Ngugi wa Thiong'o was a patriot, and it is for that reason that I, on behalf of my family, the people of Dagoretti South constituency, and even the thespians, artists, and performers of this country, I pass my condolences to the family of this great Kenyan. Madam Speaker, two great artists, Tony Njuguna and Walter Mung'are, can bear me witness that we as very young artists were truly inspired by the works of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Ngugi wa Thiong'o, being a thespian and a critic, taught us that there's a very big difference between insults and satire. That even with his very hard-hitting literature, and even with his very stinging critique, he never once bowed down to the temptation of being an insulter, or being toxic, or even being offensive. He knew that there was great power in satire that is not insulting. Madam Speaker, today, in the era of content creation, there is much to learn from the generation of creators and authors like Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Those who are creating content today must learn that intellect has way more power than the toxicity and malice that is being trended left, right, and center. Finally, Madam Speaker, the two causes that Ngugi wa Thiong'o was championing, one on decolonization and the other on the promotion of culture, it will be a great honor for us to honor Ngugi, because we did not honor him enough in his life, to honor him by preserving the great works that he has done using the new technology that allows us to feed in our languages to speak to the new revolution that is the fourth industrial.
Give him a minute to just finish.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. There is a great opportunity for us with the new and emerging technologies to onboard all this knowledge that is cultural, traditional, and has great African heritage onto the new industrial revolution, and especially in AI, where we must ask ourselves, what language will these technologies be speaking? And if they are not speaking our language, then we shall be doing the likes of Ngugi wa Thiong'o a great disfavor. So, Honorable Speaker, I would like for us to honor this great Kenyan by making sure that we do not treat his memory the way we treated him in his life. I thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and we honor a great Kenyan.
Just wait. Hello, the Honorable Member for Westlands, Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance also to eulogize Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Madam Speaker, I must also confess I've read his books. And reading his books, you could just start even imagining yourself in a situation. Because you read the book, it carries you along. And Madam Speaker is one of the greatest brains that we have ever produced. And this country has lost big. And many, those younger generation that have not experienced the power of literally, Madam Speaker, they should look at these books. When we were in school, we used to read books about African writers series. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o was one of them, Chinua Achebe, and many Elijah Amadi, and many others, Madam Speaker. And you could read all those books, and they were readily available. We started reading books written by foreigners later in life. But at that time, Madam Speaker, we could read the African writers series. I don't know if they still exist, but that was the best thing, Madam Speaker. Ngugi wa Thiong'o was very creative, and Madam Speaker, he lived his life. He was there, and he has shown Kenyans that it is good to preserve our culture. It's good to preserve our languages. Some of our languages now are being diluted. They're even dying. Some of us are afraid to speak to our children in our own language. Madam Speaker, we must preserve our African heritage and our languages and culture all the time, learning from Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, the Honourable Member for Tetu. And
thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to eulogize Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Madam Speaker, let me say from the onset, I knew Ngugi, and I had an opportunity to talk to him just about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And his rallying call all the time, as he spoke to me as a young leader, he told me to always remember to advocate for the small farmers and the workers. Ngugi wa Thiong'o was someone who strongly believed in social justice for the small person. And if we look at his life, we can actually see that his brilliance and monumental contributions to literature and thought are celebrated worldwide. Madam Speaker, I have a petition still doing rounds as usual in the House to request this country to bestow the highest honor to Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o. And Madam Speaker, it's sad that this man, despite having worked so hard, despite having given such a great contribution to knowledge, lived about 22 years of his life in exile, away from his home country. And it is only fair that Parliament initiates an honor for him or recommends that he be honored, and that we also look for a national institution that can at least carry his name, and also preferably one road in this country can be named Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o Road. And also the University of Nairobi, where he taught for very many years, would also propose that it can also give him at least one more honor in his honor. So, Madam Speaker, I rise to eulogize a professor and say that this is a man who deserves a little more than he has received.
the Honourable Member Mbaka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Way past our time.
Yes, thank you for giving me this opportunity to eulogize Professor Ngugi. Professor was my lecturer at Nairobi University. I took literature, and him and Okotbi Tech, Michere Mugo, were our lecturers who we really, really admired because of the depth of knowledge, their artistic world, and the way they mirrored the world through their works. Professor Ngugi was a politician, much as he was a great writer. His works shows you how a politician he was. He talked about poor governance. He wanted to promote the rights of human beings. And he also challenged the coming of the white man.
In his River Between, there's a statement where a character is saying, there shall come a people with clothes like butterflies. Those are the white people who came to colonize us. And Ngugi wa Thiong'o talked a lot about the effect of colonialism on the African culture, how our culture was changing because the Europeans came and took away our culture. He loved to call us by our own African names. And he kept on calling me Achieng every time. He told me, drop the name Christine. You must be called Achieng. That is how I remember him. I became a teacher and I taught The River Between, which was a very inspiring novel, and many students love it and pass their exams very, very well because it was easy to read. It was very, very inspiring. It was teaching us a lot about the coming of the white man and the clash between the two cultures. He will be remembered for so many of these texts that were introduced.
Right, honorable members, I think we are even exceeded our time by 15 minutes. I'll now let us move back to the order paper. And we had gone up to order number 13, but had not gone to statements. We had skipped order number 7, statements. So I think we can now go back. Read the next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Is that the one that is was requested to the Committee on Agriculture and Livestock? Yes. I thought I saw Honorable Mutunga. He's not here. Okay. Yes, the Honorable Dr. Edwin Mugo, member for Maithioya, was the one who was requesting. I thought it was a response. Okay. Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock, on implementation of Guarantee Minimum Returns, GMR, to support coffee, tea, milk, and macadamia farmers. Honorable Speaker, whereas agriculture remains the backbone of Kenya's economy and a key driver of employment and exports, its sustainability and the well-being of farmers are increasingly being threatened by high input costs, climate risks, and global economic uncertainties. The rising costs of essential farm inputs, including seeds, herbicides, pesticides, fertilizer, animal feeds, fuel, labor, and farm machinery, have significantly increased the financial burden on farmers. Further, adverse climate change on rain-fed agriculture, volatility in international commodity markets due to global conflicts, including the Russia-Ukraine war, and supply chain disruptions, have also impacted on the returns for farmers. Honorable Speaker, on 5th August 2023, the government committed to implement a Guarantee Minimum Returns GMR program aimed at providing direct financial support to farmers and stabilize their incomes amid market fluctuations. A key pillar of the bottom economic transformation agenda, BETTER, the GMR prioritizes production, subsidies, and direct support to farmers over consumption subsidies, cautioning farmers from unpredictable market fluctuations and complementing the existing market pricing mechanisms, enabling more stable and predictable incomes. Full implementation of the GMR program is expected to protect farmers' incomes and prevent artificial price distortions, enhance food security, boost rural incomes, and drive economic development in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Department Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on the following. measures being taken by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock to ensure that farmers are cautioned from climate-related losses, price fluctuations, volatility in the international market and trade environment. Interstate conflicts such as the Russia-Ukraine war, supply chain disruptions, and the recent trade tariffs imposed by the United States. 2, efforts being made by the ministry to introduce a price support mechanism for coffee, tea, milk, and macadamia farmers to boost their incomes and ensure sustainable livelihoods. 3, action being taken by the ministry to ensure equality in the distribution of subsidized fertilizer and ensure that the distribution is informed by the region's soil quality and topography types in different regions of the country. And finally, 4, report on status of implementation of the Guarantee Minimum Returns Program on the GMR Guarantee Minimum Returns Program. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, the chairperson for Agriculture and Livestock, when will you give a response? Any member of the committee here? Okay, majority leader, deputy majority leader. Can give an undertaking on behalf of the Agriculture Committee.
I thought I saw Honorable Mutunga here.
Yes, he was here, but
all right,
he seems to
probably
have stepped out.
we could do 2 weeks, Honorable Speaker, on the same. I'll let them know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next statement by the Honorable Mary Maingi, member from where?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock regarding the status of rice importation into this country. Honorable Speaker, on 26th of May this year, it was reported that rice farmers in Mwea constituency, Kirinyaga County, are likely to suffer a loss of more than $500 million shillings if the government fails to intervene and purchase 5,000 metric tons of grain from their stores, despite being full of grain sufficient for the country's consumption. It was reported that the situation has been occasioned by the government's action of importing rice, which has flooded the markets to the disadvantage of the local farmers. Honorable Speaker, a study conducted by the Sustainable Trade Initiative on Mwea rice growers' multipurpose in 2020 reported that about 80% of rice grown in Kenya is from irrigation schemes established by the government, among them being the Mwea irrigation scheme, which accounted for more than 70% of the produce. Failure by the government to purchase, Mwea irrigation scheme, which accounted for more than 70% of the produce. Failure by the government to purchase rice from the local farmers is likely to occasion a delay in planting for the next season, which is likely to delay or affect rice production in the next period. This is against the government's agenda of reducing over-reliance on the importation of products and encouraging local production. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock on the following. 1, the total quantity of rice that the government has imported in the last financial year. 2, why the government is reluctant to buy rice from the local farmers and has chosen to import the commodity despite having sufficient locally produced rice. 3, the total annual production of rice in the last financial year compared to the local annual consumption projections. 4, measures being taken by the government to ensure that a larger percentage of rice produced locally is purchased by the government to reduce over-reliance on imported rice. And 5, the steps being taken to cushion farmers, to cushion rice farmers in the country from likely unfair market competition that could arise from oversaturation of the market by imported rice. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Again, that's also for the chairperson, Agriculture and Livestock. He's still not here. So, Deputy Majority Leader.
I'll inform them, Honorable Speaker, we bring a statement in the next 2 weeks, Honorable Speaker. Much obliged.
Thank you. I think the next statement is by the Honorable Mishi Mboko, member for Likoni.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provision of Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Department Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the status of upgrade of the Likoni Ferry Channel. Honorable Speaker, more than 300,000 people use the Likoni Channel on a daily basis, which links Mombasa Island to Kwale County in the South Coast. In 2020, the government commenced construction of the Mtongwe ramp with a view of decongesting the Likoni Channel. Sadly, the construction is yet to be completed, worsening the congestion at the Likoni Channel. In addition, the ferries in the Likoni Channel keep developing mechanical failures. For instance, on 25th April 2025, a ferry developed mechanical failure and stalled while on transit, causing fear amongst the passengers. On 17th April 2025, the Kenya Ferry Services only had 2 ferries in operation following a breakdown of 2 other ferries. This caused congestion in the area and adversely affected the resident. The incidents raised concern on the suitability of the vessel and the need for urgent attention to ensure the safety and security of the resident and prevent such occurrences in the future. Honorable Speaker, it is against this backdrop that I request for a statement from the Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. 1, measures put in place by the government to ensure safety and efficiency of ferry services, including an update on the status of maintenance and procurement plans for new ferries and upgrade of the existing vessels. 2, status of the construction of Mtongwe ramp in Likoni constituency. And 3, long-term strategies being put in place to provide sustainable and reliable maritime transport solution for residents of Mombasa County and businesses dependent on ferry services. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairperson for the Committee on Transport and Infrastructure, not present. What about any member of the committee who can give an undertaking on behalf of the committee? All right, again, that's left to you, Deputy Majority Leader.
All right, Speaker.
When you read for the all counties, Mr. Speaker, there were counties that were also bigger counties that were losing, as well as some counties that were gaining. So it is not in order to inform the public that it's only the smaller counties that were affected by the CRA formula. Secondly, the CRA formula was based on 417. Our formula is based on a baseline of 387 plus 405 that has come from the National Assembly. So that means that fact needs to be presented correctly so that there is no misguiding the public.
Senator Osochi, I hope you are...
Mr. Speaker, you know I'm very thorough in what I do.
Yes.
Everything I do, I'm very thorough.
In your being
I
thorough.
have done my research very well.
In your being thorough,
yes.
I know you're always very thorough. but in your being thorough, do not put an impression out there that only 11 counties have been isolated for losing. Well, that is the impression that...
Mr. Speaker, I'm just demonstrating the points here.
As you demonstrate, pick one big county or three that have also lost. There's a number of counties also
I am
lost.
demonstrating the point here using the counties that I've listed. But I have done the simulation for
under
all
the CRA
47.
formula, are the 11 counties, are they the only ones that are losing?
There are counties which are losing, yes, under CRA. But what I'm trying to say is that even as we go for another formula, let us not have a huge loss from the CRA formula compared to the committee formula. That is the point I'm bringing, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, having said this comparison, I want to request my colleagues in this House that have some sympathy on us from the small counties. Because we have laid our case about development, and I'm happy Senator Halwale has really supported that. So we ask you, honorable colleagues, that even as we discuss this, let us not be disadvantaged. And I think this is the basis in which the CRA came up with that formula they came. Mr. Speaker, the only way small counties can benefit, it is through equal share. Because the other parameters are not favorable to small counties. When you talk about population, it's not favorable to us. When you talk about land size, it's not favorable to us. And if you go to the third basis formula, which had 8 parameters, population at 18%, health at 17%, basic share at 20%, poverty at 14%, land area at 8%, agriculture at 10%, urban services 5%, rural access 8%. All those factors, Mr. Speaker, except the basic share, do not favor the small counties, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am saying that because the formula that the committee is proposing to us, it has 2 components. It is taking 387, which was based on the third basis as a base, and then sharing the remaining 12 billion and applying a basic share in this formula, Mr. Speaker, for clarity. Because I had some committee members saying we have increased the basic share. They have only increased the basic share on the 12 billion, not on the entire amount. The CRA was increasing the basic share from 20% to 22% on the entire amount with a 0 base. But this formula, it is putting 35% equal share on 12 billion only, Mr. Speaker. So it is not favorable to us. Mr. Speaker, all these factors of health, population, poverty, agriculture, urban, they are all based on population. They are population related. It doesn't favor the small counties, Mr. Speaker. And that is the formula that they have used in a component of that formula has been applied in the 4th basis proposal. Mr. Speaker, even the 2nd basis, Mr. Speaker, is still using population at 45%. Equal share, this one was favorable, 26%. Land, 8%. Poverty, 18%. All that is not favoring us, except the equal share. So what I'm saying is that if we really want to help small counties, all the other factors are not helping the small counties. But the factor of equal share, and that is the reason why CRA increased the equal share from 20% to 22%. And that is why, according to the CRA formula, the small counties are gaining. So, Mr. Speaker, even as we speak about this formula, let us look at the equal share. The equal share in this formula proposed by the committee is not favorable because it's being applied on 12 billion only, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you talk about population, how I would wish that we talk about population density. Population density. In fact, whoever proposed these factors should have considered population density. A county like Kirinyaga, for instance, Mr. Speaker, a county like Vihiga, where people live in less than a half an acre piece of land, hugely populated. That contributes to many other factors like poverty and the rest. That has not been taken into account, Mr. Speaker, in this formula. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we need to consult more. We should not be in a hurry to pass this formula because the first basis formula, the second basis formula, the third basis formula are all unconstitutional, Mr. Speaker, because they do not comply to Article 203 of the Constitution. And God forbid, if someone went to court, he would stop this process, Mr. Speaker, on the basis of Article 203 of the Constitution. We like that we sit down, reason together, and consider that one principle that all counties should gain. Second principle, we need to uplift the small counties. If we go that direction, Mr. Speaker, then we will make sense. And Mr. Speaker, at this point when we are discussing the formula, this is the point at which we have, depending on how we agree or how we push in this House, this is the point where we need to have a huge increase in shareable revenue. During the debate for the third basis, there was a huge increase in revenue because each county needed to gain. And for each county to gain, we don't need to look at the figures that has been there, 387 or 405. We look at the figure, for instance, 465 billion, Mr. Speaker, that we are proposing the DORA. So let us not put our minds on 387 or 405. Let us, as we discuss, let us focus on 465 billion, Mr. Speaker. And that is how you are going to help the small counties to make sense and be viable, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do not want to proceed beyond this. I want with humility to ask our colleagues, with humility, please be considerate. Think about those counties that cannot do development. Think about those counties that exist only to employ people, to pay salaries, and there is nothing that is happening. Mr. Speaker, even as we discuss that, I also want to encourage that the formula proposed by the committee should also have looked at the physical effort of the counties. Why are we giving money to the counties without making them accountable? The second basis tried to put it at 2%. We have a lot of challenges in our county in terms of physical accountability. Let us think about that. Even as we struggle to put more money to our counties, let us consider physical effort. And I also like the factor that was used in the second basis, development factor. Let us look at development factor, how development is done in our counties, and use that as a basis also for the new formula. So these are issues that I'm raising, but Mr. Speaker, we need to caucus more. We should not be in a hurry to pass this and come up with a formula that is acceptable to all of us. when we are being asked, where is your formula? Mr. Speaker, we have a very competent budget office in this house. We are making proposals. They will be able to come up with a formula from what I'm discussing here, Mr. Speaker, so that we agree, we look at the simulation, and move forward as one house, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I want to say I will reject this formula as it is, but I'm open for more discussion to have an agreeable formula that will be fair to all the counties. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Honourable Senators. Senator Mofai, take a seat. Honourable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from Kigumo Bendera High School in Muranga County. The delegation comprises 114 students and 5 teachers who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposure. Honourable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend welcome to them, Senate, and on my own behalf wish them Senator of Muranga House. Senator Kirinyaga, would you be so kind as to welcome the students?
Asante sana Mstahiki Speaker kwa kunipa. Kwanza ningetaka karibisha wanafunzi kutoka Kigumo Bendera kwa niaba ya Muranga ambaye kidogo ametoka nje. Na niseme ya kwamba uwanja wapo ya kaunti ambao watoa watu mashuhuri ambao wamekuwa wakiwakilisha na kufanyia Kenya hii kazi nzuri sana. Kwa hivyo wanapoendelea na kesho yao ndio wanaweza kuwa seneta katika hili nyumba ama hata rais wa nchi hii. Kwa hivyo pamoja na kuwakaribisha, naambia kwanza watie bidii katika masomo na kuwatii walimu wao. Asante sana Mstahiki Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator William Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to make my comments on this particular motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to confess that I was present in the first Kamkunj. Today morning, I was here by 7:30. In fact, I had to leave the burial for a priest that was killed that took place today in Nandi, but I attended the requirements yesterday in Eldoret, Honorable Speaker. Because of this particular motion, which is very important, and the Kamuguji that we had in the morning, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the wisdom for devolution, the reason why Kenyans were agitating for devolution, Honorable Speaker, was to ensure there is equitable development across the country, because some sections of the country perceived, if they are not in government or if they don't have somebody powerful to influence development to go to the areas, Honorable Speaker, they might be disadvantaged. But it is so sad, Honorable Speaker, that 13 years into devolution, 11 counties have been very busy basically being and doing nothing, maybe maintenance, Honorable Speaker. That is why, as a caucus, we said, for this particular fourth basis of the formula, Honorable Speaker, maybe we need to talk, converse amongst ourselves and convince each other, Honorable Speaker, that we need all our counties to do something meaningful that we can be proud of devolution, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, currently, we are not proud. We are only proud that we have additional elected positions like the governor and the MCAs, Honorable Speaker, and women rep. Otherwise, for a county like Elgeyo-Marakwet County, there is nothing much that has been done because of the Miaka resources that we have been receiving since 2013, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I take you through Article 203 of the Constitution, Honorable Speaker, on equitable share and other functional laws, Honorable Speaker. Section 1 of 203, but F, Honorable Speaker, it says development and other needs. Basically, the title is the following criteria shall be taken into account in determining the equitable share provided for Article 2202 and in all national legislation concerning county governments and in terms of the character. National interest, that is A, Honorable Speaker. If you go to Honorable Speaker, C, the needs of the national government determined by objectives, criteria. D, the need to ensure that county governments are able to perform the functions allocated to them. E, the fiscal capacity and efficiency of county governments. F, development and other needs of county governments, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this article is very clear that we need to take care of counties. We need to ensure there is equitable development, Honorable Speaker. You can imagine, I've just said for the last 13 years, the 11 counties, basically what they've been doing is pay salaries. This is why we have said, because of the opportunity that as a reason because as a result of the fourth basis of the formula, Honorable Speaker, that let us speak, let us talk to each other, let us converse and reason together. The Bible is very clear that when you come together and reason together, you know, things will change. Honorable Speaker, we want to convince our colleagues, especially the four counties. Senator Kalwale talked about Nairobi, Kiambu, Kakamega, and Nakuru, where they are getting close to 15 billion each, Honorable Speaker, each year. We are saying Elgeyo Marakwet County started with about 2.something billion. In this current financial year, we are getting 4.8 billion. And the functions that they have been, they have been transferred to Elgeyo Marakwet County are the same functions these other counties are getting. If it is CCs, we all each have 10 CCs or 12. Chief officers, the same. We have the same number of hospitals, Honorable Speaker. So that's why we are saying, in this particular formula, we are in agreement that basically what the committee has proposed, the first, the 387.25, Honorable Speaker, so that no county loses. So that every county gets what they get currently. We are happy and comfortable with that particular proposal. Then we are saying now, can we do an affirmative action to ensure the 11 counties move towards 6 billion? The committee, as a result of the Kamkunji in the morning, have proposed 2 billion. We are saying, can we improve the 2 billion that has been proposed as a result of the Kamukunji in the morning? Can we put it up maybe to about 4.5? But our desire is 6.7, so that all counties minimum, apart from Lamu, will be at 6 billion. And then Lamu moves from about 2.something billion to about 5 billion. So that is what we are saying. Can we look at this particular affirmative action of 2 billion for the 11 counties and improve it? Even if we don't go to 6.7, can we agree? Can we have a middle ground, say 4.7, so that at least each county, before we share whichever amount that is above 387, each of the smaller counties, the 11 counties, gets a minimum at least of 500 million. And then from there, we subject now the formula to anything above what we have agreed, Honorable Speaker. Senator Sosa has just said that, you know, the 35%, you know, when you tell us that sharing, using equal share of that 5%, that equal share of that 5%, Honorable Speaker, is not based on the entire. It is based on anything above 387. So it's basically either it's 17 billion or 30 billion, where we are going to have equal share of 35%, and also population is still at 45. So it basically, it's still advantage to the bigger counties, Honorable Speaker. This is something that we need to reason together, because this money is not going to any one of us. It is going to our people. And your people, if you reside in Nairobi, or you are senator for Nairobi or senator for Machakos, you have your people who are in Elgeyo Marakwet County. They need to benefit. They need to get development. They need to have good hospitals. They need to have medicine, Honorable Speaker. in these particular hospitals. So, Honorable Speaker, that is what we are saying. Let's reason together. And we have something that is agreeable, that is acceptable, because this is the formula that will take us for the next 5 years, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I also agree that we need to be serious. We cannot accept the 4 or 5 billion that is proposed by the National Treasury and National Assembly. We need to move to the 465 billion, Honorable Speaker, so that when we are putting our governors on task on accountability, at least they have some reasonable resources to do something for us, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, please, let's debate, let's be sober as brothers and sisters to ensure that, we treat all our citizens equal. Otherwise, some of us are really disadvantaged completely, because even when we get the oversight funds, Honorable Speaker, what am I going to do oversight in Elgeyo Marakwet County? Because, am I going to check on how ECDs are being built? These are standard 2 point something million shillings that they do at twin classrooms, Honorable Speaker. So please, members, let us come, reason together, agree, and please give us affirmative action. The proposal of 2 billion, that's a start. We want to bargain from the 2 billion. Can we improve it? Can we push it? Say 4 billion, 4.7. And then from there, we also don't have to take a lot of time talking. The biggest challenge, the Speaker has said, we've been conversing for the last 1 month. Why are we waiting? The Kenyan mentality, we always like the last minute. Even if you give us another time, we'll not meet until the last minute again. Let us meet today, discuss, agree, and then we pass the bill. We pass the motion so that at least we can discuss other many things, because there are very many other pressing issues that we need to discuss as Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I reserve my support for the motion. I'll support it with amendments where Elgeyo Marakwet County is going to reach at least 6 billion so that something can be done for my people. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Honorable Speaker, in our journey for leadership, we were told that sometimes it is good for you to concede that there are things that are complex, even for you as a leader, and you need to take time to listen to experts and people who have experiences in those fields so that they can guide you. Honorable Speaker, I must admit that ever since I came to this floor of this House, these matters of the formula and the parameters that are being proposed by CRA and the conversations from our colleagues is one of the most difficult conversations to grasp. Speaker, no wonder if you look at Article 215, Sub-Article 4, the Commission on Revenue Allocation, which is the commission that makes these recommendations. It says that to be qualified to be a member of the commission under this section, a person shall have extensive professional experience in financial and economic matters. Honorable Speaker, I remember the very first time the CRA put out a proposal in terms of the revenue sharing formula. I took time to seek out some friends of mine who are commissioners on the CRA. And Honorable Speaker, first of all, the picture that they painted for our country was quite grim for me. That, Honorable Speaker, we rely on data and statistics that are kept in the ministries and departments and agencies, but that data is so corrupt and corrupted and skewed that it is almost totally unreliable. If you start there, Honorable Speaker, and knowing, for instance, that this formula that is being proposed by the committee attaches extreme significance to certain data sets, the first one being population. Now, Honorable Speaker, you and me know that immediately you raise the question of the census of 2019, there are people who will tell you that that census itself is flawed. In fact, there is already a court decision, Senator Mungatana can correct me if I'm wrong, on the legality of the figures that were put out by government following the census of 2019. So if you attach 45%, Honorable Speaker, weight to that data set, there's already problems. But we are willing to be guided. And the most heartbreaking thing, Honorable Speaker, is that there are professionals who sit in these ministries. There are professionals who sit in our government agencies who will massage numbers for data, for health, for agriculture, for all sorts of things, to skew allocation of national resources towards their regions and even their communities. It is something that professional bodies in this country must look into. So, Honorable Speaker, we have a problem with the 2019 census. We have a problem with the poverty index. How are we supposed to navigate this entire process? So for me, what I usually do, Honorable Speaker, if there is problems with the math and the numbers, we must always fall back to what we consider the guiding principles. During the mediation last year, and I've just seen breaking news now that, as expected, the National Assembly has rejected our proposal of 465 billion to the counties, which is throwing us into another mediation, the fourth straight mediation since this Senate began. That when we were in that last mediation, there are certain things that we agreed on. And also, Honorable Speaker, there are certain positions that the political party that I belong to has taken with regards to devolution and which are supposed to be guiding my decisions in this House when it comes to devolution. The first one, Honorable Speaker, we as a party and even as this House have set the standard somewhere that it doesn't matter what formula you adopt. No county must lose when you compare previous year allocations. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, that after the allocation, whatever formula you use, year on year, there must be marginal growth of the devolution basket to cater for obvious things, including year-on-year inflation, including growth in salaries and wages due to implementation of collective bargaining agreements. Speaker, you know I sit on the Public Accounts Committee. Just the other day, the governor for Makueni appeared before us, and we had one of the most illuminating conversations, because you will see, Honorable Speaker, that because of decisions that are made by national government, for instance, they want county governments to do this county aggregation in industrial parks, and you're supposed to match the money that is put by the national government to do that project. He says in Makueni, because of the nature of the topography and how the unique circumstances of the county, they tried to convince national government that they did not need KIPES. They did not need single centers for aggregation of produce because of the diversity of produce in that county. And it would be very expensive for some people or some of the farmers to transport product from one place to the center. Honorable Speaker, he also told us, he gave us a very clear example, that if you look at the amount of money increment for Makueni County in 2023, 2024, 2025, is about 55 million Kenya shillings only. But in that same period, if you look at the responsibilities that have been put, fiscal responsibilities on the county, because of the passage of laws that are here in the National Assembly and the Senate, for instance, on SHA and SHIF, this is a new levy that was introduced. If you look at the housing levy alone has added an additional burden to Makueni of 55 million. And yet the annual increase in equitable revenue is 52. So it doesn't make any sense, Honorable Speaker. So we have said that year on year, we want to see marginal increase to cater for these things, including review of salaries and wages for the staff. Then, Honorable Speaker, the final principle was that any shortfall in national revenue or shareable revenue should be borne by the national government. So, Honorable Speaker, we have no problem. Whatever formula is adopted, the position that we have taken is that no county should lose. And we are willing to have that conversation with our colleagues. Now, there is some plea that has come from 11 of our colleagues who represent counties they themselves are calling small counties. And we have a few questions for them, Senator Osotsi and your group. Number one, where did you pluck this 6 billion figure from? What is the scientific basis for that figure? Because although these conversations are complex, we cannot say that you owe a responsibility to explain to us where you got 6 billion. Because why not 7? Why not 5? Why not 8? Number two, Honorable Speaker, if the argument is that most of this money goes to recurrent expenditure, we sit in the Public Accounts Committee, and Honorable Speaker, some of those counties, if you hear the stories in those counties, you will see that there is absolutely no justification to add the money. My view has always been that at the advent of devolution, people thought that counties existed to serve their tribes, that this was our county. It is the reason why if you come from Bungoma and you go and apply for a job in Kakamega, they'll tell you, you go back to your county. Even if you are a Bukusu person, man or woman, born in Kakamega. Many people will not distinguish between a Kisi from Nyamira and one from Kisi County. But they themselves at the local level know this one is from Nyamira and this one is from Kisi. And you cannot apply for jobs there because they'll tell you, your share is there, you go and get yours there. That is the true situation. So you find we had a county entity speaker that comes to the Public Accounts Committee, and a governor has hired over 30 advisors. And that county has only 2 constituencies, Honorable Speaker. There are less than 10 MCAs in that county. But he has hired for himself over 34 advisors. That is what the money for the county is going to. The governor wants to be able to go to every village and say, I employed so-and-so's son, he's working in my county government. I've employed so-and-so's son, he's working in the county government. And all of them, Honorable Speaker, I think with the exception of only Nairobi, they have never even complied with the requirement of ethnic balance in their counties, which is demonstrating my point that people think these counties exist to serve the dominant communities in those regions. The last question I want our colleagues from these counties to answer, Senator Osotsi and group, is that if we are indeed amenable, if we are amenable to meeting your request, so that we avoid those instances, the examples we've given, where every single resource that goes to the county is still going to end up in personnel emoluments and governors adding themselves more advisors, can they agree, Honorable Speaker, that whatever amount is added in terms of what you have called, I don't know which was the term he used, affirmative, that we ring fence that amount of money, whatever it is, for the development that you are claiming is going towards. Because we don't want a situation where you get that affirmative action fund, whatever it is you want to call it, and then it all goes to hiring more people on the ground. So, Honorable Speaker, for us, we were elected to represent our individual counties. The people of Nairobi expect that I will put up a fight for them to be able to get the highest possible allocation that we can get. But, Speaker, for me, I am very clear in my mind, even when we were doing the MOU with our counterparts from UDA, that because devolution is something that we hold dear as ODM, we have drawn a certain line in the sand. I am happy that the Senate improved on the proposal from us under that MOU for 450 billion. We have passed as a House 465. Honorable Speaker, I don't know why people get upset when I speak about that MOU. I honestly do not understand, because it is a reminder of the things that we have committed ourselves to. And every single day, we have opportunity to remind each other that this is what we agreed upon. Because we look at things happening in this country. In the morning, I was telling the majority leader how I was very proud to hear him say on national TV that some things that are happening don't make sense, even to him. You know, when it came to the arrest of this young, coder on Twitter for creating a website that we could harness feedback on the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, those things don't make sense to me. Why would you arrest such a person? For what? So even on the question of devolution, we have a responsibility to remind each other that these are the things that we have agreed upon. And when I say I'm keeping score or I have the marking scheme, that is the job of the SG of the party. That is the responsibility I've been given, Honorable Speaker. So for this one, so that we cut down all this noise and we are able to meet everybody's need, let us make sure that we get 450 billion Kenya shillings for devolution. And I want to insist that the national government, 465, but minimum 450 that we agreed in the MOU. Just to remind my brother, the treasurer, the National Treasury, CS, that this is what we agreed to, and we have an expectation from you that he will deliver for the family of devolution. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to debate this motion. Mr. Speaker, I really support what the chairman has proposed and the committee has proposed before this House. I, Mr. Speaker, have been a benefit of the two informal meetings that we call Kamukunjis. Mr. Speaker, when this formula was proposed, I had the idea that I must do and say everything and anything so that Tana River can get more money. And so, Mr. Speaker, I tried to talk to colleagues here so that they can add one more percentage point to landmass, which we then changed and made and called geographical area so that it covers water. I also said that the poverty index should go from 12 to at least 13%, to add another 1%. But Mr. Speaker, when we sat with colleagues here and discussed, most of the colleagues were showing that 11 counties were going to lose money and that we must speak as senators for the Republic of Kenya. We must not speak as senators just from our counties. And Mr. Speaker, with that in mind, this formula we have agreed using the factor of 0.387, the baseline fact. Mr. Speaker, no county is going to lose any money. So this has taken care of what all of us were afraid of. So if no county is losing money, Mr. Speaker, what do we do with the rest of the other factors that we needed to factor in the formulation of the fourth basis formula? Mr. Speaker, when we sat here this morning and in previous Kamkunji, we said that whatever the Committee of Finance had proposed, no county was going to lose. No county was going to lose. But if we stuck strictly to the formula on the poverty index, the geographical area, and the population index, then there are 11 counties that will get very little, if at all, any increment at all. So this morning, Mr. Speaker, as we sat here, we convinced each other that let us allocate 2 billion shillings for those counties so that they can have a reasonable increment. And Mr. Speaker, when we left here, the representative for the small counties was very happy. I left here knowing that even this afternoon, possibly, we will finish this debate. Mr. Speaker, in fact, we said that those who feel very strongly that they will come with a better simulation of the formula or an improvement of what we have, they need to come with papers. That is what we agreed. They need to come with pieces of paper. They need to work with the Parliamentary Budget Office so that figures can be created that will convince all of us. So we even agreed in the morning, Mr. Speaker, that we shall move this motion this afternoon. When we moved this motion, we also agreed this morning as a principle that any person who is having a different opinion can bring us the paperwork so that we can accommodate them. But the most significant breakthrough that we had with the small counties here was that we said we shall ring-fence 2 billion shillings that will be equally shared amongst the 11 counties that were getting very little increment. And we left here very happy. Mr. Speaker, it seems that the people have tasted blood So they want to come, in the sea, Mr. Speaker, if you get injured for whatever reason and blood leaks out a bit, all the other carnivorous people follow you, and not people, but the other fishes, they come to finish you. So I don't know what is happening. We have agreed on this formula. We have yielded and said we are ring-fencing 2 billion shillings. So we have said, let us start with this, and if there's anything else, again, we will reconsider. So now, all of a sudden, Mr. Speaker, we are seeing another attempt at increasing that amount again to a higher level. Now it seems then that there are those who are playing with the cards that are open, and there are those who are playing with the cards open and cards under that are hidden. And Mr. Speaker, in this way we shall not make progress. Because if we have ring-fenced 2 billion shillings, and we have said small counties are going to get equal amount on this, what is the problem again? Why should people now, I'm hearing colleagues talking about adding 4.7 billion. Then this means, Mr. Speaker, even those counties that were now getting, because that same amount must be taken away from the original cake. So then the whole thing now will collapse. I am asking colleagues, with a lot of respect, that if we have agreed on something, let us carry it to the conclusion, the logical conclusion. Let us not be looking at this matter in terms of what is my county getting. We agreed here in the morning that we are going to speak as Kenyans, not according to County Tana River and other counties. We said that we are going to carry all of us. And because of that spirit, Mr. Speaker, we conceded that whatever amount that will be allocated, let us set aside 2 billion to carry the 11 counties. So now, colleagues are now suggesting that we should go as high as 4.7 billion. This, Mr. Speaker, is not the correct way to tackle these things. Because we also would like even a change of that formulation. We would like to look at it so that our own counties can benefit. But we've said, let us be patriotic, let us be agreeable, let us agree, and what we agreed here informally is what we are going to put today. Mr. Speaker, we had said this in the morning, that those who are not attending the informal meetings will come and bring confusion, and now confusion is coming. In fact, I remember very well that it was Honorable Morango who was giving us a very good Kiswahili proverb that I can't quite recall, that says that those who are not there may come in the can you give it to us, Mheshimiwa? That's the one that said that, I don't know, those who come later. Yeah, he can.
Senator Murango, Senator Mungatana, would you like to be informed by
yes,
Senator
Mr.
Murango?
Speaker, I want to be informed of that.
Mstahiki Spika, nilikuwa nimepeana katika falsafa yangu, nilisema ya kwamba katika siku mbaya, siku ya imbu ya kuku, upepo ambao unafunua kuku manyoya na kuionyesha uchi inakuja tu kutoka nyuma. Nikipeana sababu ama nikipeana mfano ya wale ambao watakuja nyuma na kuongea mambo mengi kwa sababu hakuwa kwa mkutano. Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator, because you have extremely good and fantastic capture of the Kiswahili language, very rich. And Mr. Speaker, nothing can demonstrate it more than what Honorable Senator has put. That the ones who are going, the ones who are the wind that comes from behind is the chicken is the one that makes the wings and those manyoyas. I don't know what we call them in English again. To expose the skin of the chicken. And the ones that come behind, and they've come behind, they have started exposing that skin again. And we had covered it so well. We had agreed, because that debate was here in the morning, Mr. Speaker. And it was here in the morning, and we went through all the things. We agreed we don't destabilize things. We don't quarrel. We don't fight. Let us speak like Kenyans. And we agreed that we are going to carry even those who are calling themselves small counties. So, Mr. Speaker, what I want to urge colleagues is that unless there is a very nice, and that is also, we agreed that if you have, you can circulate another simulation developed by the Parliamentary Budget Office through maybe suggestion of this principle to improve on what we have, then we can go with what has been proposed. But if that has not come, because up to now, Mr. Speaker, there is no paper that has been circulated. People are speaking generalities, you know. We are requesting, Mr. Speaker, that surely if the formulation can be brought afresh, that will say that what we agreed upon in the morning has been improved, and by what margin and how it was improved, then let us move, because we said that we are going to be open, we are going to speak as Kenyans, we are not going to fight, because this formula is supposed to be the best that we can get for the next 5 years to guard how we are going to allocate our resources across the counties. And Mr. Speaker, from what we agreed in the morning, nothing has come out to improve on that formulation from where we sat, because if it was indeed there, we would have seen it even on the order paper or something circulated, or the chair would have told us. I don't know, I'm seeing this paper. But Mr. Speaker, what we are saying, unless there is a tremendous improvement on what we did, I think the morning formula was the best. We took care to make sure no county has lost. We took care and put aside 2 billion shillings for the counties that had very little improvement in terms of very marginal increments. So I do not see why we cannot agree on this formula and we make progress. Mr. Speaker, I submit that the formula should go as proposed and seconded on the motion. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting teachers and students from Oshol Academy in Mombasa County. The delegation comprises 37 students and 4 teachers who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposure. Honourable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. Kinyo, if you could please welcome the students and teachers.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipa fursa hii. Nachukua fursa hii kuwakaribisha wanafunzi kutoka shule ya Osho kutoka Mombasa, kuambia karibuni sana pamoja na walimu mliokuja nao. Alafu niwaambie hii ndio seneti na mmefanya vizuri kuja hapa, ndio muweze kujifunza mambo yanavyotendeka hapa, na tunawatakia kila laheri kwa sababu nyinyi ndio viongozi wa kesho. Nyinyi ndio marais wa kesho, maseneta wa kesho, na vile vile mtaweza kubombea katika mambo yote ambayo mtakayofanya. Kwa hivyo karibuni sana na muendelee kujifunza mengi, ndio muweze kuwa viongozi wa kuaminika miaka yenu ya usoni. Asanteni sana Bwana Spika.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to contribute to the debate on a matter that is one of the most important functions of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, the of the Constitution requires the Senate and not just Parliament, to determine the basis for allocating among the counties the share of national revenue that is annually allocated to the county level of government. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the few original functions of the Senate. You remember, even impeachment begins at the National Assembly. That is where the indictment is done and trial is done in this chamber. But when it comes to this formula, Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is very clear that it is the Senate that originates it by a resolution. And in the event the National Assembly disagrees with the Senate, the threshold has also been defined. The threshold is so high that it can only be amended by the National Assembly if 2/3 of the members of the Assembly vote in support of an amendment. Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely important exercise that is done every 5 years. If you look at comparative jurisdictions, the United Kingdom has been struggling with the concept of devolution, the sharing of resources between the centre and the other entities like Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. But in their case, they came up with what is called the Barnet formula. The Barnet formula is fairly fixed. I know it has been criticized, and it has featured even when the regions are doing referendum for secession. The Barnet formula has been accused of perpetuating disparities amongst the regions. But in the UK, you do not really need a resolution of Parliament to decide how resources are shared between Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. In South Africa, Mr. Speaker, we've got the provincial equitable share formula. Mr. Speaker, South Africa, their devolution structure is not very, very different from devolution structure. In Nigeria also, they've got a formula which has a lot of parameters that is given effect through an act of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, since we promulgated this constitution, we have had 3 formulas. But Mr. Speaker, the first formula and the second formula were largely the same. If you looked at the factors that were there, it was just tinkering with the numbers, slight tinkering with numbers. In the first formula, population was at 45%, and it was the same in the second formula. Equitable share was at 25% in the first one, it was 26% in the second one. So Kenya has not really changed the basis of allocation of revenue until the third formula. Mr. Speaker, I was in the House when we had the classic debate on the third formula for revenue allocation. And Mr. Speaker, it took almost 11 sittings of this House. Each sitting was extremely volatile, was extremely noisy, was extremely contentious, as we sought to find a middle ground to ensure that there was some equity in allocation of resources. When the plenary could not resolve the matter, and when Kamkunjis, the ones Senator Mungatana has referred to, could not resolve the matter, because as it was then, and as is now, we'd go into Kamkunjis and agree informally, but then when members came to the floor, they would play to the gallery, or they would play to the political persuasions that they subscribed to, and for 11 meetings, we could not agree on anything. Ultimately, the House resolved to set up a bipartisan committee. Mr. Speaker, I was privileged to be a member of that committee. This committee was co-chaired by Senator Moses Wetangula and the current governor of Nairobi, Governor Sakaja. Mr. Speaker, we spent a lot of time in this chamber. We did almost 1 week of meetings. But ultimately, the agreement that we came up with, I can tell you, was not based on any science. It was based on this concept called holding harmless. It was based on the concept of making sure that nobody lost. And so we froze an amount and said that a certain amount would still be distributed on the basis of the second formula. And we introduced a new formula that would apply on increments from that threshold that we are defining. Mr. Speaker, in my view, the third formula was perhaps more scientific and more service-driven and more sector-driven. Because in the third formula, we brought in aspects of service delivery. We put a measure on health. And on measuring health, we were looking at picking data and seeing, how many level 4, level 3s, dispensaries that a county has. And CRA had a worksheet that had all that data. Now, the problem was some counties, in a bid to look good, had upgraded a lot of their hospitals to be level 4 in name, but there was nothing in terms of facility. As a result, Mr. Speaker, I realized that between Homa Bay County and Migori County, Migori was getting almost 200 million more on the health index because they had fewer level 4 hospitals. Homa Bay was getting less because my governor then wanted to show that he was working, so he upgraded a lot of level 4. So it looked like Homa Bay was doing better on the health index. We had certain parameters around agriculture. And Mr. Speaker, I do recall the then Senator for Nairobi brought it to our attention that agriculture is not just a rural occupation or preoccupation. And he gave us as an example that one of the main dairy producers in this country is here in Nairobi. I think there's someone who operates in Karen and produces a lot of milk, perhaps more milk than any other producer around. The third formula was elegant in the manner in which it broke down the service dimensions. The only failure was lack of accurate data to back it up. And Mr. Speaker, even the rural access index was based on the number of roads in a county. But you know we have had a problem with classification of roads because the national government does not want to let go of roads to county governments, and so there's been some frustration in ensuring that roads are classified. If we had accurate data, Mr. Speaker, I would still insist that this country continues to use the third formula. But the proposal by the Finance Committee is a de facto endorsement of the third formula. Because in the spirit of holding harmless, the Finance Committee has told us that 387 billion would still be distributed on the basis of the old formula. And any increment above that would be subjected to a new formula. I think to some extent it is a confirmation. Now, what I am not sure about is that whether in the 387 billion, the factors or the data that was used back then will be refreshed or will just freeze the amounts as they were. If we freeze the amounts as they were, I think that would make sense, because going back to the data and tinkering with it might lead to unexpected results. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this fourth formula that the Finance Committee proposes, 96% is a third basis, and only 4% is a fourth basis, assuming that we are going to be allocating the 405 billion that was brought to this House by the National Assembly. I want to encourage the House. Let us increase the base. That is where the solution lies. We are fighting over small fragments because we think that counties should only get 387 billion or 405 billion. Mr. Speaker, the political formation to which I belong has clear, unequivocal instructions that we must support devolution. We must give effect to devolution as captured in the Constitution. And if we are to be faithful to the Constitution, we must give resources to our county governments, and we have made it clear 450 billion Kenya shillings is a bare minimum. I know that the Senate has recommended 465 billion. If you can get 465 billion, I'll be very happy. The instructions I have, Mr. Speaker, 450 billion, nothing more. Well, something could be more, but nothing less. Because with 450 billion, the small counties, and I don't know why we want to call some counties small. Why should you call your county a small county? Simply because of the revenue. Why should you call your county small? Simply because you have a governor who does not know how to be fiscally responsible and fiscally prudent. Why should you tarnish the name of your county by calling it small? Mr. Speaker, we have seen big counties in quotes that cannot make fiscal sense or fiscal responsibility sense. We have seen small counties in quote that have been able to undertake programs that have been transformational. This obsession of now County X has done a tarmac, 10 kilometers of tarmac, and County Y cannot do tarmac. Really, if we put pressure on the national government to let go of the money that is sitting at Kera, money sitting at Kura, money sitting at the Ministry of Roads, I am sure that will be a few tens of billions that would go to counties, and it would be shared out amongst the counties. Mr. Speaker, water is a devolved function, but we still have the national government sitting with huge budgets for water. We see national government officials moving around and giving boreholes in villages, a job that should be done by the governors and the counties. Let us push for that money to go down. Mr. Speaker, housing is a function of county governments. Just this weekend, we have launched affordable housing in Homa Bay County, and I do congratulate the national government for bringing this to fruition. Of course, these houses are being built using money that is taxed, or where Kenyans are taxed. So it is not like the government is a very big genius, because the money is ring-fenced. You have to pay it, upende usipende, whether you like it or not, you must pay that money. But we must find a way of building synergies with county governments, Mr. Speaker. The synergy cannot be that the county provides the land and then the national government builds the house, and then now you have problems on who owns those houses. Let us give counties a share, proceeds from the housing levy fund, so that they can also be able to make their own decisions on where they feel they should do housing. If we did so, Mr. Speaker, we'll be bridging the gap between 387 and 450 billion. Markets. And Mr. Speaker, on this, we must call out the governors. When the president goes to regions, he comes to launch markets. And when governors climb on top of that car to speak, they're asking for markets. Build for us a market here, a market there. The question is, the 387 billion that we are sending to them, why can't they use that to do markets, so that we allow the national government to do bigger things that can stimulate economic activity in those regions? Mr. Speaker, if the money for markets was sent to county governments, we would be bridging the gap to 450 billion. We would not be having this conversation or this contention of discussing a formula that is only going to apply to 4% of the funds, because that is the situation now. 96% of 405 billion has been held harmless. This formula, which is likely to split this house, likely to split the nation, will be on 4%. We must increase the base. Agriculture, Mr. Speaker, is a devolved function. The only thing that remains at the center is policy. Senator Murango was a very able chair of the Agriculture Committee. We know that there are budgets in Nairobi that should be pushed down. And I'm very happy that those who are presiding over the Agriculture Ministry nowadays have seen the light. Like, is it Saul who became Paul? That even though they brought fertilizer here for us to sniff and to touch, and I remember Senator Murango was sniffing the fertilizer, it is now that they have realized that what they were sniffing were proceeds from a donkey and mixed with sand and other things. Let us send that money to counties. We'll be bridging the gap between 387 and 450 billion. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, if we are to carry out a comprehensive review of this formula, I would suggest a few things. We need to bring in a fiscal responsibility measure. Mr. Speaker, there is too much fiscal irresponsibility, and there is no way to punish it. And for our governors, the only punishment they understand is either give them money or take away money from them. In the first two formula, the very first one, we had a 2%. In the second one, we had, again, a 2%. Mr. Speaker, how I wish we could have considered a fiscal responsibility index. Mr. Speaker, there are counties that, from where I sit as the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, there are few counties that have done fairly well. If you look at their wage bill, they are below the 30% or the 35% that is required by law. If you look at their development, they are above the 30% required. If you look at the operations, and Mr. Speaker, it is not all doom and gloom when it comes to devolution. Out of the 47 counties, I believe we could highlight 10 counties that are fiscally responsible. But at the bottom of the pile, there is serious irresponsibility. Senator Sifuna has just narrated some of the scenarios we have come across. And I've seen there's a schedule here circulating of counties that we are calling small by revenue. Isiolo is not a small county, Mr. Speaker, sir. Isiolo is supposed to be the capital of Kenya. It was designated as such under Vision 2030. Isiolo is at the center of Kenya, and that was where the center of gravity of this nation ought to be. Let us not call it small because of this allocation. And this allocation, if you are to add the on-source revenue, ideally, Isiolo should have a lot of economic activities. Let us put pressure on the state to to the aspirations of Vision 2030 and bring services, bring facilities, bring activities to Isiolo, it will no longer be called a small county. But when you tell me that you want Isiolo to get 6 billion shillings, I will also challenge the proponents of that argument to advise me on how to hold accountable the leadership of Isiolo County. And that could have been achieved through a fiscal responsibility index. That if they are doing the bad things that they are doing in terms of employment of advisors, employment of chief officers, you find that a county has got 6 CEC members, 10 members of county assembly, but there are 36 advisors, and there are 36 chief officers. So it means that under every ministry, there are about 5 or 6 accounting officers. Mr. Speaker, that is even Nairobi, with more complex functions, does not have that kind of creep when it comes to advisors and chief officers. So if I had a 2% or 3%, where I'm saying this one will be shared by the 10 counties that are doing a good job, and then those who are pulling at the bottom will get nothing out of it, Mr. Speaker, I would have supported this formula more robustly. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, we must ask ourselves about the blue economy. We have just had Madaraka Day in Homa Bay, and the theme was the blue economy. I am not sure, Chair Roba, whether when we take land at 8%, we are also looking at the concerns of people with vast water bodies. And this is not just a Homa Bay, Kisumu, Siaya, Migori, Busia thing. It also affects Turkana. It also affects Marsabit. And it affects Mombasa, it affects Kwale, Lamu, and Kilifi. Because, Mr. Speaker, the residents of Mfangano Island on Lake Victoria, where I come from, Mfangano is quite a big island, but the gap between Mfangano and the mainland is thousands and thousands of acres or hundreds of kilometers. Yet, they demand service. They want hospitals, they want markets, they want roads. Do we have a component here that can accommodate the blue economy? Mr. Speaker, thirdly, is that we should stop this glorification of poverty. And I've seen one of the respondents in the report of the Finance Committee, is that if poverty has a weight of 14%, no, it's 12%. It is CRA that proposed 14%. The committee has proposed 12% on poverty. Are we incentivizing poverty? What if Governor Roba, while he was governor, has improved the lives of his people, and his poverty index has moved from X to Y? In other words, his people are less poor. Why should he get less money? Should he be incentivized for pulling more people out of poverty? I don't know how we'll ever get to put that as a criteria. But otherwise, as it looks, we are glorifying poverty, we are rewarding poverty, so that the poorer you are, then the more money you should get. I think there needs to be an instrument for incentivization. Data accuracy, I spoke about that. We cannot be the leader in sub-Saharan Africa, and we are still complaining about the data that is held by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. And Mr. Speaker, I've seen in the report that KNBS confirmed and convinced the committee that their data is verifiable and accurate. And I thought that the only data we dispute in this country is IBC numbers. But when it comes to KNBS and revenue share, people even went to court over the issue of population census. Mr. Speaker, it's a very untidy thing that to date, you've got a court order nullifying the results of population in a certain region in this country. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to say this. Recently, the President talked about removal of vetting for IDs in the border counties. This is not a northeastern problem alone. Even me, Mr. Speaker, I was forced to go for vetting when I was applying for my ID. Why? Because we neighbor Uganda. So this suspicion about northern Kenya around population, it is part of that discrimination, systemic discrimination of certain parts of this country. It is not just northern Kenya. It affects us in Homa Bay, affects us in Migori, in Busia, and the counties that border Lake Victoria. Mr. Speaker, again, can we demand for more money to go to counties? Because The Constitution requires us to base it on the most recent accounts. And the most recent accounts, going by Article 2293, should be the revenue accounts for 2023-2024. The Treasury is trying to convince us to use 2021. That is unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, if we had 450 billion, then we will not be in this situation. Could we as a House agree, even though that some of us are in broad-based, but one key point in broad-based was support for devolution. It is 450 billion Kenya shillings. That is what we signed for. We didn't sign up for broad-based for small markets here, a small stadium there, a small road there.
You've concluded? Thank you, Senator. Murango, Senator Murango.
Asante sana Mstahiki Speaker. Ya kwanza ningetaka kuondoa dhana ya kwamba zile gatuzi ndogo zinaitwa ndogo kwa sababu ya mambo mengine. Zile gatuzi zinaitwa ndogo kwa sababu kijiografia ni ndogo. Ukiangalia vigezo ambazo zimetumika katika ugavi wa pesa ambayo inabakia, kama vile wingi wa watu, zinahesabiwa zikiwa ndogo. Ukiangalia kigezo kingine kama kile cha umaskini na ufukara, nyingine haziko. Kwa hivyo ndio maana zinaitwa ndogo, kwa sababu zinakuwa ndogo kwa mambo yote, mazuri na mabaya pia. Mstahiki Speaker, taarifa ambayo imenifikia sasa ni kwamba dola ambayo sisi tulikuwa tumepitisha katika nyumba ya Seneti ya kupatia gatuzi zetu takriban shilingi bilioni 465 ni kwamba imeangushwa katika bunge la kitaifa. Na mara nyingi mimi huwa nasema machozi ya mtengeneza jeneza hayaaminiwi kwenye matanga. Wakati mwingine wanakuanga ni biashara wamekuja, lakini sio kuhuzunika na wale wamefiwa. Mstahiki Speaker, wale ambao wako katika bunge la kitaifa pia wanafaa wajue kwamba wakati mtu anawania kitu chochote, anaania kiti akijua ile fedha atapata atafanya nayo nini. Kwa hivyo wakati tunajaribu kupata pesa zaidi kwenda katika gatuzi zetu, lakini inapofika katika bunge la kitaifa, dola ambayo imepitishwa inaangushwa, inaonyesha ya kwamba tayari adui wa ugatuzi ni akina nani. Na kwa hivyo tunarudi pale pale tulipoanzia. Mstahiki Speaker, mimi nimetoka Kirinyaga. Mimi ni senator wa Kenya kutoka gatuzi la Kirinyaga. Lakini itakuwa sijafanya haki kama sitaongea ya Kirinyaga pia nikiongea ya gatuzi zingine katika nchi ya Kenya. Mstahiki Speaker, sisi tunapopata fedha ambazo tunapata miaka ambayo imesonga, tukitoa ile fedha ambayo inafaa kulipwa mishahara na mambo kama hiyo, pesa inayobakia kufanya maendeleo inakuanga ni finyu sana, pesa kidogo sana. Na Mstahiki Speaker, unajua mwamba ngoma wakati mwingine ngozi huvuta kwake. Ukienda katika eneo ambalo liko na ukubwa 3 kwa 4 katika Kirinyaga, liko sehemu ya mwamba inakuzwa mpunga, ni kubwa mno, lakini mashamba na njia za kupitia kwenda katika yale mashamba toka uhuru nje haijawahi kuzwa, kwa sababu pesa tunazopata ni kidogo mno. Na ndio maana tulikuwa tunasema ndugu zetu ambao nikiruhusiwa gatuzi ndogo tujiita wadogo pia kama sisi ni kama ndogo wetu wenu. Na ndio namsihi, wakati meza ya chakula cha jioni ama meza imewekwa, imetengenezwa ili watu waweze kukula kwa ile meza, na huko na ndugu mdogo ambaye afikii meza, si vibaya kumpatia tonge angalau pia akue siku moja za kuja kukaa moja katika meza na wewe mkule pamoja. Angalia Mstahiki Speaker, kama kisa Elgeyo Marakwet hapa, ambapo bajeti ya mwaka ambao wamepewa juzi waliweza tu kununua tingatinga moja la kulima barabara. Wangefanya jambo lingine lote, pesa ilikuwa kuna. Kama tungesikizwa tu kidogo na ndugu zetu, kwa sababu sisi wote ni mandugu hapa, tuweze kuinuliwa kidogo, tufikie meza kidogo, tuweze kuja kuweza zote tuwe tunapata at least tunapata lishe pamoja.
Senator Murango, Ningefurahia zaidi ungesema ule mchanga ambaye afikii meza abebo aikwe juu ya meza akule kama ako juu ya meza.
Na hiyo nayo nadhani Mr. Speaker, nikisema hiyo itakuwa ni madharau kwa sababu atakuwa amekanyanga juu ya meza. Tunataka tu kupewa angalau tonge tuweze pia sisi kukua na zile gatuzi ambazo wanafaidika zaidi. Kwa hivyo yetu ni maombi, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, nilikuwa nasema hivyo kwa sababu na pia tunapotafuta hizi fedha kuna mambo ambayo inafanyika katika gatuzi zetu ambayo mpaka tumalize pia. Gavana tunapowapatia pesa kwenda kwa gatuzi, lazima ajue pia wako pale kwa sababu ya wale waliochagua, na kuna sheria za kufuata kwa sababu katiba lazima ifuatiliwe. Na mfungo achagui Ingereza. Kwa hivyo wakiwa pale lazima atafuata sheria, kwa sababu mara nyingi ni kwamba tutangangana kupata zile fedha, lakini zinapofikia mangavana wanaanza kuwa wajeuri, wakiitwa katika kamati ya waji, wakiulizwa maswali ya wajibu, lakini sasa hivi wanataka tuwapatie pesa. Mimi najua kuna mpango na jama fiche, hata zile pesa zinaokotwa katika gatuzi la Kirinyaga katika malipo ya ndani kwa ndani, kwamba nyingi zinapotea na nyingi zinaimbiwa. Na kwa hivyo ningesema ya kwamba mangavana mpaka waanjibike. Nikimalizia, ningetaka niseme ya kwamba fedha ambao tunaomba sisi katika zile kaunti ambazo si kubwa sana, kwa sababu wakati kigezo imewekwa ya kuangalia wingi wa watu, hakuna kigezo iliwekwa ya kusema msongamano wa watu katika zile kaunti ndogo. Hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba unaweza pata kaunti ambayo iko na watu wengi kwa sababu ni kubwa, lakini kuna kaunti nyingine kama Kirinyaga ambazo ziko na msongamano wa watu ni ndogo. Utapata kama kwa ekari moja wanaishi kama familia 3, 4, 5, ambao inakuja pia na shida zake za kupeana huduma katika wale watu wanaoishi mahali pale. Kwa hivyo ningeomba, na hii ni jambo ambalo tulikuwa tumeongea kama venye Senator Mugatana alikuwa amesema, kuna mambo ambayo tulikuwa tumesikizana kwamba katika ile mkutano ilikuwa asubuhi, kwamba tuangaliliwe hata kama ni kidogo, tuweze kukaribia wale wakubwa wetu ambao wako na gatuzi kubwa. Na kwa sababu mbuzi wa kuazimu ama kupewa angaliwi meno, ambao tutapata sisi tutaridhika zaidi, na ili iweza pia kunufaisha wale wananchi wetu ambao wako kule mashinani. Mr. Speaker, embu nikimalizia ni shukuru mwenyekiti wa kamati ya fedha kwa kazi nzuri ambayo waliofanya, kwa sababu si kazi rahisi pia hata kuja na kuleta ile formula ambayo tumeiona hapa. Ingekuwa si vizuri kukaa na kukashifu ile kazi ambayo kamati ya fedha na mwenyekiti walifanya, lakini wakati mwingine unajua kuna watu hata ufanya nini hawaridhiki. Kuna mtu hata ukiogelea atasema bado unamtifulia vumbi. Kuna watu wanatakwambia kwamba ndio sababu mjango wa rasara halina nyasi, bila msingi wowote. Kwa hivyo kazi waliofanya kufikisha mahali tumefika, kuhakikisha kwamba zile gatuzi zote hakuna ambayo inapoteza pesa, ni jambo ambao anafaa pewe kongole, na asiulize kwa nini simwambie hongela, kwa sababu hongela upewa wanawake. Kwa hivyo Mr. Speaker, ni kwamba sisi tukipewa chochote, hata kama ni chenye naona katika simulizi ambayo imeletwa hapa na takwimu ambazo naziona hapa, sisi tutakumbalia. Lakini tena niseme, andui wa ugatuzi ni bunge la kitaifa. Sasa hivi ukiangalia taarifa, wameangusha ile mswada ambao tulikuwa tumepeleka kule, na ndio nikasema kwamba machozi ya mtengeneza jeneza hayaaminiwi katika matanga, anakuanga biashara. Hawa ndio hao naongelea. Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Senator Professor Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to join my colleagues. First, in thanking the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget for the very rigorous work that they have done. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support this report with the amendment that was introduced this morning, the amendment that introduced an affirmative action fund that ring-fenced 2 billion for the 11 counties that had the lowest figures. Mr. Speaker, I want to support because in the third formula, where I was present and I sat on the chair you are sitting in. We took about 11 sittings, very difficult sittings. But something that came out very clearly was the unity of the House. Senator Kinyua will remember that the House was united in speaking fairness. And I want to thank this committee because if you look at the observations that they have given, they have not deviated from fairness. The parameters that have been used are slightly different because in the third formula, we wanted to look at Schedule 4, the second part of Schedule 4. And we had asked for more money so that we have the devolved functions being followed by resources. When we did not succeed, this House decided to break the boundary between the two sides of the House. And they debated and came up with a formula that was implemented and made everybody happy. Mr. Speaker, I am appealing to the House that we do exactly the same. Let's think in terms of our own unity and fairness only. In the fourth basis, the sharing, according to the committee, has still looked at the devolved functions, not in the parameters that we had used, but they have looked at the functions globally and have ensured that first, nobody loses, which was the principle that came out very strongly in the third basis, that nobody should go below what they had gotten. So I want to support that as we look at this formula, let us think in terms of sustaining the momentum of devolution. Mr. Speaker, this is the House that protects devolution. It would be very sad that we squabble, and we have squabbles that derail us. I think our focus should be how we can protect devolution by sustaining the growth of everybody. We know that some colleagues feel that they should have been fast-tracked a little bit, but if you look at the agreement of this morning to release the 2 billion, that was a step in the right direction. And I really still think that we should persuade all our colleagues to agree with this formula. But the reason why we need unity in this House is because the amount of money we are getting is still not the figure that we wanted. The committee's initial proposal was 465 billion. We only got 405 billion. So we need unity of purpose to look for that 60 billion. So we must reach a point when we can talk in one voice so that we get the figure that we are looking for. A divided House will not be able to do that. So at the end of this debate, we must remain united, and we must really consider the fact that all of us must move together. I want to persuade my colleagues that we accept the resolutions that came from today's Kamukunji, because we called for it for that very purpose. But Mr. Speaker, where is the actual problem in the money? Because we seem to be fighting over little money. The actual problem is the progression of funding the counties. In Bomas, the ideal situation was that in 20 years, 50% of the resources of this country should be in the devolved unit. That we expected 50% to be in counties in 20 years. Right now, Mr. Speaker, we are only in the third term. And the rate at which we are going, we will not reach 50%. So as a House, we need to be united to refocus and fight for the resources to go down. And this is possible, Mr. Speaker. It is possible because there are functions that have been devolved, but resources have not followed. Even though the committee is saying in that paragraph, in the paragraph H, that the funds have been shared in the context of the devolved functions, we still have a lot of functions that are supposedly devolved in the Constitution, but they have not been funded. I said this during the debate of the third formula, and I want to repeat it, that Kilimo House is still full. Ministry of Health is still full of staff who were supposed to have been transitioned to take care of our counties. And if that is done, if we transfer resources that are in the Ministry of Agriculture rightfully to the counties, and resources that are still in the Ministry of Health rightfully to the counties, there is hope of us reaching the 50% in the next 10 years, if not 20 years. Mr. Speaker, that calls for unity within this House. It's very important that we stand united as we debate the division of revenue, so that we don't fight over the little that has arrived, while we know that there is a lot more that should be coming. We know roads should be devolved. We know even housing should be devolved. We know, and of course, as I said, agriculture, except policymakers. The occupancy of the Ministry of Agriculture should just be one floor, where the minister is, his PSS, and directors. Nothing more than that. And all other functions, all other monies should be devolved. The same thing with the Ministry of Health. If health has been devolved, and we still have everybody in Nairobi, most of the money is still in Nairobi. What the counties are getting in health, we are informed, is less than 50%. And this has been raised several times by CRA to us when they're explaining that we seem to be fighting over what we have seen with our naked eyes, but there's a lot more that we are not seeing. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to really appeal to the House that we go for unity of purpose while we are debating and while we are approving. I'm glad my brother, Senator Osotsi, is here, because if we start fighting over the little, we will not be able to devolve everything. Let's devolve agriculture except for policy. Let's devolve health except for policy, the way the Constitution says. And look for new monies. Mr. Speaker, I'm looking for new monies that will follow the functions that have been devolved by the Constitution. Because if we had 465, the debate would not be here, because everybody would have jumped in billions. But now we have restricted ourselves to monies that the minimal that we have been given, the minimum increment. We still need to have this conversation with the National Assembly at some point, because it's like they have never understood what devolution is all about. No wonder we are still fighting over who supports and who doesn't support CDF, NGCDF. And we are saying the national government also has a right to devolve its money and its resources to the lowest unit. But while they are doing that, that is not money that belongs to the devolved unit. We want the money that belongs to the devolved unit according to the Constitution, so that we can be able to develop the agendas that were devolved. Madam Speaker, I was not going to say a lot, because most of my colleagues have said most of the things that are here. But I really want to emphasize that there is need for unity in this House. Let's negotiate and let's finish. The way we did with the third formula, let us negotiate and let's all move together and ensure that we are actually looking for money that has not been touched since devolution came, so that we move forward with devolution. Devolution is one thing that Kenyans are not going to take any risk in diminishing. So since this is the only avenue for Kenyans to develop, we must all be together. So my cry is, let's move together. Let's not be divided by the division of revenue. Let's look for the monies that have not been given to us. Let's look for the devolved functions that have not been followed by money. And let's demand for that money with one voice. And that is going to move us far. Thank you, Madam Speaker. With those remarks, I support with the amendments introduced this morning in the Kamukunji. Thank you.
Senator Kinyua.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii. Kwanza mwanzo nataka kushukuru kamati ya fedha kwa kazi nzuri waliofanya Bwana Speaker, Bi Speaker, kwa kuleta jinsi ya ugavi wa hela. Lakini Bi Speaker, nataka ikumbukwe wazi kama vile Senator wa kutoka Singishu Profesa Kamala alivyosema ya kwamba seneti ambayo iliyopita kauli mbiu ilikuwa ya kwamba hakuna kaunti ambayo ingepoteza hela. Na huo ndio msimamo, kwa sababu ukisoma katika katiba yetu ya Kenya inasema kazi ya seneta ni kulinda na kuitetea gatuzi zetu. Na hiyo ndio majukumu. Mandago si kutetea tu au Singishu peke yake, lakini ana jukumu kutetea kaunti zote za Jamhuri ya Kenya kwa sababu yeye ni seneta wa Kenya. Bi Speaker, nikiwa ninasema hivyo, kwa hivyo tunapoangalia vile ambavyo hela, nakumbuka seneti ile nyingine tuliketi hapa zaidi ya mara 10, tulikuwa na vikao zaidi ya 10. Hatukukubaliana, lakini dakika ya mwisho tulikubaliana. Na ukiangalia ugavi ama ile formula iliyotumiwa kugawa hela, muhura wa 3 wa ugavi wa hela, ndio hiyo inatumika wakati huu. Kwa sababu mengi yalisemwa. Wakati ule tulikaa zaidi ya mara 10, watu walijadiliana. Mambo mengi yalifanywa, kamati ziliketi, mpaka watengenezwa kamati ambayo ilikuwa ikiongozwa na Sakaja na wakati huu Speaker wa Bunge la Kitaifa ambaye ni Moses Wetangula. Tukaongea mengi na tukakubaliana. Kwa hivyo ninasema hivi kwa sababu Mgatana alipokuwa akiongea alisema ya kwamba waliokuja nyuma wamekuja wakaleta kuchanganya yale mambo yalikuwa yameongewa hapo asubuhi. La hasha. Si kuchanganya, ni kuleta mwamko mpya, ni kuleta fikra mpya, ni kuleta nguvu mpya, Bi Speaker. Kwa sababu wakati watu wanafanya majadiliano, mtu na mzungu anasema ni mjinga tu peke yake asiyebadilisha mawazo. Kwa hivyo wale wengine wameleta mawazo mapya, mawazo mageni, hata wao wanapaswa kusikizwa. Na mimi nikiangalia, Bi Speaker, kwanza kabisa ijulikane wazi kwamba hela zinapaswa kufuata majukumu. Kwa sababu majukumu mengi yamepelekwa katika gatuzi zetu, lakini hela zinabaki katika serikali kuu, Bwana Bi Speaker. Ikiwa hatutalivalia njuga njabo hili la hela lifuate majukumu, tutakuwa tukipigania mkoba mdogo wa hela sisi kama gatuzi, lakini mkoba mkubwa uko na serikali kuu. Sisi tunapigana hapa na tuwezi kufuatilia mahali hela ziko, kwa sababu majukumu mengi ambayo yamepelekwa katika gatuzi zetu, pesa zake hazijapelekwa katika gatuzi. Mfano, mwenyekiti wa afya yuko pamoja na mimi hapa. Hela nyingi za afya ziko katika serikali kuu, ilhali katika serikali kuu imebakishwa policy na hospitali za kitaifa ni karibu 5, Bi Speaker. Hospitali ya Moi Teaching Referral, hospitali ya Kenyatta, hospitali ya Spinal Injury, hospitali ya Mathare. Hizo ndio hospitali ambazo ziko katika serikali ya kitaifa, ilhali 70% ya hela inabaki katika serikali ya kitaifa. Na ni vizuri julikane, mfano hata ukiangalia mambo ya barabara, gatuzi zetu, barabara ukiangalia katika katiba inasema barabara zimegawanywa mara 2, barabara za gatuzi na barabara za kitaifa. Lakini unapata kuna halmashauri na vile vile taasisi zingine kama Kera na Kura zimewekwa, Bwana Speaker, Bi Speaker, ilhali hizo pesa zingepelekwa moja kwa moja katika gatuzi zetu, kwa sababu kuna barabara aina 2 peke yake. Kenha ibaki ikishughulikia barabara za kitaifa, ilhari Kera na Kura ipelekwe moja kwa moja katika gatuzi zetu, kwa sababu wao wanashughulika kutengeneza barabara zilizo katika gatuzi zetu. Kwa hivyo Bwana Speaker, tunapoongea kuhusu hela, ni vizuri tuajibike vizuri na kusema ya kwamba gatuzi zetu zinapaswa kuwa zikiangaliwa. Ukiangalia kama Laikipia, hela zile ambazo tunapewa Laikipia na majukumu ambayo sisi tunatakikana kufanya Laikipia, hizi hela ni kidogo sana, hazitoshi. Na kwa sababu leo asubuhi tulikuwa na huu mdahalo wa kusema ya kwamba tutawezaje kuongeza hela ambazo zinaenda katika zile kaunti ni ndogo, kukawekwa shilingi bilioni 2 kama hatua ya kuleta pesa za udhibitisho. Bilioni 2, Speaker, ni nzuri kwa sababu walionekana wanania, lakini bilioni 2 hazitoshi. Pendekezo langu ni ya kwamba tuongeze ziwe bilioni 5, ndiposa hizi kaunti ambazo ni ndogo, hizi 11 zote zipate kadri ya bilioni 6 kila moja. Na hiyo itaonekana walikuwa na nia nzuri wale walikuwa wakifanya haya. Kamati ilikuwa na nia nzuri kwa sababu tayari imeweka bilioni 2. Na ikiwa iliweka 2, tunawaambia wasonge tu kidogo ifikishe bilioni 5, ndio hizi kaunti zingine zidifike.